Muy buenos días, bola de cap. No, no es- ¿Cómo están? Espero que estén muy bien. Bienvenidos a un episodio del Casino del Tío Salo. No hay tanto que platicarles antes de esto. Hay unas buenas oportunidades que quiero traer a todos ustedes a la mesa antes de comenzar esto. Y como pueden ver, estoy renovando mi oficina. Y las cosas de allá atrás son luces que claramente van a ser necesarias porque estoy viendo lo oscuro que se ve. Esta es la primera vez que prendo la cámara, pero ahí voy a poner el uniforme de Pato. Tengo ahí atrás su casco, su coleccionable. Tengo un pedazo del coche de Lewis Hamilton firmado por él, los tenis de Charles Leclerc. Y ahí atrás voy a poner más foamies y otras cosas. Tengo como más cosillas, pero sí me estoy dando cuenta que se ve muy oscuro. Ahora, tristemente, yo soy el centro de atención en esto. Qué asco. Lo siento a todo el mundo que tiene que ver esto. Lo siento muchísimo, de verdad. Espero que hayan tenido un excelente fin de semana. La bolsa no va a abrir el día de hoy aquí en Estados Unidos. La razón por qué es Memorial Day. Es uno de los días más, no sé, me siento mal de que sea ese día, de que se trata de conmemorar, de acordarnos de la gente que ha muerto en el nombre del ejército de Estados Unidos, que no es algo bueno, pero pues ellos qué saben, ¿no? Lo hicieron, espero que con buenas intenciones, así que salud para todos ellos, espero que haya valido la pena. No hay más que eso. Pero vamos a lo que tenemos que ver. Oigan, buen fin de semana de carreras. Noel León, segundo lugar, primer lugar por primera vez en Canadá en la carrera sprint, en Montreal, en la Fórmula 2, nada mal. Felicidades, pinche Noel. Y le voy a pedir ahí que, pues ahí tengo todas estas cosas de Pato y de Charles Leclerc y la verga, para poner un poco de ahí también algo. Tengo espacios que no se ven para también poner algo de Noel. Qué mamada. Y también Daniel Suárez ganó ¿qué fueron? Las 600 de Coca-Cola, no sé cómo se llamen. También chingón. Pato cuarto, se maman con el McLaren, Aero McLaren, güey. ¿Qué voy a decir? Y carrerón de Kimi Antonelli. Así que nada mal. Voy a empezar con esto rápido. Quiero compartirles a todos ustedes, eh, ¿cómo se llama? Las oportunidades que les traigo el día de hoy, que me parece que es una más que nada la que quiero hablar el día de hoy con ustedes. Vamos a analizarla y ahorita les enseño otras porquerías que traigo para todos ustedes. Pero voy a empezar con esta. Déjenme comparto mi pantalla en chinga. Aquí está. El petróleo, damas y caballeros. Cada que me dicen que viene el estrecho de Hormuz va a abrir y cerrar, me da igual, pero estamos en la parte baja de este canal. Me gusta bastante la idea. Pueden ver que tenemos el precio del IMA 100. Este trade se me fue, el de acá, por $1. Literalmente yo tenía mi entrada en 78 y cayó hasta 79. Entonces sigo algo salado, ¿no? Con esto, pero aquí la pregunta es, ¿dónde vamos a comprar petróleo? ¿Acá o acá? Y honestamente he estado pensando en hacer todos mis trades más pacientes porque esta es una buena entrada, pero es una entrada más desesperadona. Para mí me gustaría ver más esta zona de los 86 una vez más. Igual y otra vez puede que pierda la oportunidad de entrar, pero voy a estar y he estado buscando un poco de confluencia con esta zona que también es el promedio del 21, que lo venimos a tocar hace un rato en la semanal. En la de 2 semanas tengo un poco más arriba el promedio del 9, que no lo hemos tocado desde acá. Entonces, para mí, yo creo que aquí el petróleo nos va a dar una buena entrada. Yo sé que todos ustedes creen que ya el estrecho de Hormuz va a abrir y tiene algo que ver con esto. No. Nel, estamos entrando en un periodo súper pinche donde va a durar años este pedo culerísimo, de la falta de energía y con todas las cosas que están haciendo. Entonces, voy a esperarme aquí al simple rebote, ¿no? Y el hecho que traigan a todos como perritos diciéndoles del estrecho de Hormuz es lo que voy a hacer. ¿Dónde diría, güey, esto está mal? Recuerda, para mí una cosa que me fascina en todo esto es jugar rangos, ¿no? Y se los he puesto varias veces. Cada que vienes acá es corto y cada que vienes acá es long, básicamente. Es el arriba para abajo. Y cuando juegas en canales tan bonitos como este, donde es fácil bueno, aquí te hubiera sacado la lotería, aquí también, acá la gente que entró con el trade que les mandé porque se metieron antes, felicidades. Pero es normalmente como juega esto. Es raro ver que te salgas del canal tan rápido y sobre todo el petróleo se queda por un rato en el mismo canal, por más que la gente quiera. Es idéntico, ¿no? Que lo del 2024 se los he enseñado varias veces. Entonces, acá o acá, voy a entrar primero aquí abajo. Voy a buscar un poco más los 86, 85, pero quiero hacer un DCA hasta los 78. Entonces lo voy a dividir. Voy a ver exactamente cómo, con poco apalancamiento. Si es que se me dan las entradas, ¿no? Eso es lo que voy a estar buscando. Otra cosa que me llamó la atención este fin de semana y estoy en ello, y les voy a compartir exactamente cómo es esto. ¿Qué tabla es la que tenía para usar esto? Ninguna de estas, en realidad. Estoy en un cortillo de Bitcoin donde, bueno, es más, se los comparto acá. Donde, ¿qué pedo con esto? ¿Por qué me sacó de aquí, tío? Dame un segundito. Disculpen. Aquí está. Les comparto el Discord de Elite Trading Academy. De nuevo, esto es completamente gratis, señores, para todos ustedes, para los que quieran entrar por acá. Déjenme rápido, les enseño lo que les estoy diciendo. Acá entré en un cortillo en 76,200, 77,200. Mi promedio son como 76,650, 76,700 en este corto de Bitcoin. No se ve mal, pero tengo que decir esto. Como el mercado no abrió hoy, puede que carguen el momentum alcista para mañana cuando abre la bolsa. Y si llega a pasar eso, entonces voy a estar un poco frito, pero les voy a compartir mi invalidación. Esta es mía. Antes de que escuches esto, espero que tú tengas tu invalidación y estés listo si es que te metiste en ese cortillo. Pero esta es mi invalidación. El tope de esta vela. Acá, en 77,800. Obviamente por las gatadas que hace Bitcoin, yo lo hice en 77,900. Es mi invalidación de este corto. Hay varias cosas que me dicen, y por cierto, esto no quiere decir que somos alcistas, simplemente que tenemos de aquí al IPO de SpaceX y todo esto para continuar moviéndonos de lado para arriba, retesteos bajistas, y hay diferentes zonas donde puedes meterte de vuelta en otro corto, que es lo que vamos a platicar el día de hoy con ustedes. Pero por ahorita estoy en este corto esperando. Ayer estaba en Profit y saluda a mí. Y algo me hizo pensar, güey, tal vez deberías de salir. Y dije, no, no. Y cada que me llevo la contraria de ese primero, valgo madres. Entonces, vamos a ver cómo nos va. Espero que sí. ¿Por qué estoy usando esta vela y no esta? Porque si te llevas esta, vas a ir más para arriba. Vas a ir probablemente a buscar esta zona de acá en los 79. Y si vengo a buscar la zona de los 79, ya es demasiado la pérdida cuando acá son movimientos chiquititos. Entonces, me da igual acá. Entonces, acá es donde estaría perdiendo si nos llega a llevar de los 77,900 el día de hoy, continúa en este pinche rango estúpido. Pero, ¿qué les digo más? Voy a traer al buen a Alex y a Farhan, pero antes, una vez más, solamente para todos ustedes que están interesados en esto, cáiganle, señores. Tenemos también, hablando de las lunas, que acá tenemos el análisis de las lunas, va a haber una luna alcista. Eso quiere decir, nos marca un tope, recuerda eso, en 6 días, para que lo tengan bien afinado. El yen japonés, seguimos esperando esto. El yen japonés volvió a subir a algo de lo que podemos hablar ahorita, pero el yen japonés se encuentra para arriba. Estamos jugando en un mercado que simplemente está yendo de lado, intentando sacar a la mayor cantidad de gente antes del siguiente movimiento bueno. Así que solamente tengan eso en mente. También acá tienen todos los trades del buen Alex, donde se anda rifando, cada movimiento los lleva mano a mano. Igual acá Farhan poniéndoles todas las divergencias de todo, alcistas, bajistas, para que lo sigan. Y también tenemos acá Criptolingo, por si no entienden ninguna de las abreviaciones que usan estos jóvenes. No uno que está ya viejo, pero estos jóvenes usando estas abreviaciones, acá las tienen todas. Si quieres aprender más de esto, puedes caer en nuestro sitio web. Ve nada más qué guapo está ese cabrón. Discúlpenme que tenga que ver mi cara. Honestamente, 1000 perdones. No hay nada que pueda hacer, tristemente. Porque ya hice mi canal con mi cara. Ahorita pues, debería ser como los valientes que se avientan a todo esto, a hacer ¿cómo se llama? todas sus redes sociales sin poner su cara, ¿no? Que es lo más macho que existe en el planeta. No voy a dar la cara de todas las cosas que digo, pero te voy a decir cosas. Pueden caer acá y tenemos un cursillo para que aprendan todo lo que estamos hablando. Si no entienden estas cosas básicas, tío, la mejor manera de aprender, tenemos un curso para principiantes que se llama De Cero a Trader, y esto es como a mí me hubiera gustado haber aprendido desde el principio, porque te habla como si no supieras nada, que es lo correcto. Me gasté una buena lana en cursos pendejos donde cada que entraba era de, güey, no entiendo nada de lo que este cabrón está diciendo. Aquí está puesto con palabras simples y sencillas desde qué sitio web necesitas meterte para poder encontrar las tablas, si quieres comprar una membresía o no de ese sitio web, cuál es la mejor, qué es una tabla, qué son las velas, todas las cosas más básicas de todo. 1 hora 40 minutos con todo eso lo vas a tener listo, cabrón. Y ya una vez acabado, lo que te recomiendo es simplemente ven 3 veces a la semana a estos en vivos, porque lo hacemos gratis, ¿no? Enfrente de todos ustedes por 4 horas. Y si todavía te quedan dudas o te salen dudas, que es lo normal, te recomiendo que vengas a las clases en vivo. Este jueves tenemos clase exclusiva para todos ustedes, los miembros que tengan preguntas. Y espero que entre hoy y mañana ya subamos los otros preguntas de las most frequently asked questions y también el curso completo acá. Entonces, acá también tendrás el curso completo ya puesto y las otras preguntas, ¿no? ¿Cómo uso apalancamiento? ¿Cómo lees volatilidad con el BBWP? Todas las pendejadas. Qué mal pinche profesor soy, ¿no? Todas las cosas que ustedes deberían de... Me dice mi vieja. Es más, ayer me estaba diciendo mi vieja, oye, si fueras maestro, ¿de qué serías maestro? Yo apuesto a que serías profesor de ciencia. Y digo, ¿estás pendeja? Y luego le pegué. No, no. Un revés. Digo, ¿qué estás mensa, tía? Doy clases de trading. Ya soy, de cierta forma, profesor de eso. Gracias a Dios tengo a Farhan y Alex que me dicen exactamente todo, pero pues a través de todo este tiempo que he aprendido, tenemos más de 40 clases que están guardadas aquí para todos ustedes. Es lo que hago. Y me dice, sí es cierto. Y me dice, ¿te gusta? Y le digo, creo que a mí me gusta, pero creo que soy una mierda porque no tengo paciencia. Así que discúlpenme, todos ustedes, discúlpenme. Pero por eso estoy intentando hacer más contenido que tengan ahí para poder apoyarse en esas preguntas básicas. Pero si se me sale, él tiene que decir pendejadas, preguntas pendejas, etcétera. Quiero que sepan que no lo son, ¿ok? Pero aquí lo tienen. También tenemos las alertas de trading, tío. Si no sabes usar esto, si no sabes lo que estás hablando, no compres las alertas de trading hasta que aprendas algo. Y si no, vete a otro lado a comprarlas. No quiero escuchar de ti. Es que me metí, pero me salí porque me dio miedo. Me da igual, honestamente. Ya he escuchado muchas pendejadas en toda mi vida. Otra cosa que vale la pena ver, voy a poner esto en español también, en chinga. Métete en tutos si quieres aprender a usar Bitunix, y pronto les vamos a poner uno nuevo para que aprendan también a usar bots, que como han estado mamando que quieren aprender eso, pues no hay pedo. También les enseñamos eso, chingada. Pero por ahora quieres aprender cómo usar un exchange de futuros, que es donde puedes abrir un long, un short. Bitunix tiene todas las criptos, Blofin tiene también acciones, tiene todas las criptos y también Tesla, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, para que puedas también ahí estar apostando como degenerado. Si no sabes lo que estás haciendo y estás apenas empezando, métete en Blofin. Hay un simulador de trading donde no pierdes dinero, es solamente todo falso, ¿ok? Es dinero falso, como lo que empecé desde el 2017 con el app de Fantasy Crypto, es básicamente eso, te dan dinero digital para que uses y a ver cómo te va. Es lo que recomiendo. No nos interesa que vengas y, ay, güey, lo único que buscas es comisión. Me vale verga. Lo único que quiero es que aprendas. Es lo único que quiero. Entonces, aquí lo tienes. En un video de 11 minutos puedes aprender cómo usar el exchange de Bitunix. Y también cualquier exchange de futuros funciona así. Cómo depositar, cómo mandar, cómo encontrar futuros, cómo encontrar Bitcoin, Solana, todas esas mamadas. Cómo abrir un long, short, poner un take profit, un stop loss, cómo mandar tu dinero a casa, etcétera. Ahí lo tienes. Sin más ni más, damas y caballeros, aquí tengo a Alex y a Farhan que nos van a decir exactamente qué pedo y qué es lo que está pasando en el mercado de los criptos. Good morning, boys. How are you?
Buenos dias, señores and cabrones and cabronas.
Yo. How we doing?
You guys celebrating Memorial Weekend?
I didn't even know that it was today, to be honest.
I know. No one knows. No one knows. Because apparently the people that celebrate, it's not like very good news. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say things didn't go that great.
I've been told it's some sombering information.
It is. So what's going on right now with the Bitcoins? Fucking, I'm in a little short right now. Which, by the way, I said I'm done trading this month, but this one kind of looked juicy, but it's not. It's just not doing it. Yesterday I was in profit and I didn't take the exit. So you tell me, who's gonna go first?
I can go first.
Okay, 1 second. Let me remove my thing. Put your thing.
Nice.
There you go. Tell me, Alex, am I making a mistake or not?
Well, to me, I don't think you're making a mistake, but I do think you'll know quite soon. I don't think we're going to be consolidating like this forever. And you will notice since Friday we broke down what has been occurring. We've just been moving up and moving up and moving up. But this has really done nothing in terms of structure and or even the charts. We had a lower low break, and this is how really all of crypto's looking. Lower low break, slowly moving up, and you notice that you're just finding resistance at the daily EMA 9 on total market cap. I'm only looking at total market cap because we've been looking at total market cap. This has been playing in really nicely with our idea that a big move is coming. And really, to me, as long as we're under 2.58 trillion, we are more likely to break down from here. Now, I still stand on what I said, though. We are going to see a move quite soon. I'm not going to just stay here, grinding up here forever. You're either going to see a breakout towards the daily SMA 200. And you're going to notice the cluster moving averages is getting quite tight here. They're clustering, meaning really volatility is coming, and you are going to identify the contraction of volatility and even the setup here. Let me delete this red line so there's no confusion. Under 15% gives you a volatility setup. Now it's extremely cold in this room. Let me turn the AC off. There we go. So for me, we need to be watching very carefully the closings going into today, tomorrow. If total market cap starts really getting back above, well, the daily EMA 100, you're essentially going to be in a buy trigger here. This is just essentially going to be right back within the range. You're going to notice exactly what occurred in April, and this is what basically slingshotted us up to the resistance zone. Now, the fact that we are now at the end of this, and we talked about this late May, early June, this is looking actually very primed up to give us some kind of move. Again, late May, early June. And to me, this is still pointed as bearish. This is still a bearish setup. And you have a lower low, a lower high, and until you actually take these highs out, you are in a very precarious spot here, because what could occur is just a massive rejection down. Even at minimum, filling some of this wick out, yes, could result into bullish price structure, and then we move up. To me, it's hard to have a kind of argument to just move up from here, because you're just essentially looking for this. And if this occurs, you're going to break out and actually move up to the daily SMA 200, which for this chart hasn't been tested since November. So that's a big zone. But being under the daily EMA 100 means that's not the setup. That's not the setup on total. But it doesn't mean it can't quickly shift to that. The 12-hour on total as well is interesting to me. You're right under the 21. This is exactly what it is looking like on Bitcoin. We talked about the silver cross that did confirm on Friday. We then got the move up. We didn't reject the 12-hour 9, but you are finding resistance at the 12-hour 21 while still putting in lower high posturing. Again, this is a very easy perspective, because as long as you have a 12-hour silver cross to the downside, this is still going to be more in bear territory, which means you're going to move down. This is significant because when we got the silver cross to the upside, you notice you did consolidate and actually grind right off the 21, just like what you're doing here on the opposite end, where this was support. And then you didn't reach the 55. The silver cross didn't uncross, and you expanded up. And this was your essentially entire move up to the 80s. It was off of that 12-hour silver cross. So I do still think that the silver cross to the downside that did confirm in Friday is still significant for us. You do end up taking out specifically 2.58 trillion and moving up from here, getting back above this channel. It is just going to start looking like you are going to break out into June. And yeah, maybe I'm wrong on this idea, and June might actually result to a bullish breakout. But again, that's not the case quite yet. So that is kind of what I'm watching on the total crypto market cap chart. Do you think daily is telling a story? And even the weekly, yes, you held the 9, but you're losing the 5. So this just plays into, is it bullish or bearish, or is it just in a very tight range per the moving averages? And this is going to give us a volatility setup very soon. That's actually the camp I'm on, is we are going to get volatility here soon. You're not going to just stay under the EMA 5, but bounce off the 9. It's not how this works. You're not going to just stay like this for weeks. Like, this is going to give you a move within this week or next week, in my opinion. And now you have a very sneaky volatility setup about to into next week, going into June, give you a weekly volatility setup. This is highly significant on total because, well, what was happening on the weekly volatility, and again, I'll go to Bitcoin after this. I just think the total is really telling the story right now. This is interesting because we were getting massive bullish setups here on this weekly. That was 2 weeks ago. We're on the 3rd week, so like 2.5 weeks ago. No, 2 weeks ago, because we're on Monday, I forget. Now, this is interesting because this was bullish. This was breaking out. But remember, we needed the throwback, and we didn't hold the throwback. This was interesting because the volatility setup was saying this was firing off. It was confirming expansion, and we were about to move up. But you didn't hold the throwback. And again, this is still looking more like kind of a trap. You do notice you have a major drop down to the daily SMA 200, and that is just basically dependent on losing the weekly EMA 9. You're basically getting a 15% move down as soon as you lose the weekly EMA 9. And the fact that price has opened under this breakdown while not getting back above the EMA 5 on the weekly does mean that you should be looking for shorts in this region still. If you do end up moving up a little bit, you could just get a bearish retest. The weekly is still in bearish posturing here. So even if you do this and you move down, it would be a little more fucky for sure. But this is still in a bearish setup. So that is still something on the weekly we need to be watching along with that volatility setup. And just simply because nothing has changed on the monthly here. You had a monthly lower low break, and you're just grinding out a monthly lower high, which has taken 3 months. In the midst of 90 days, majority have become bullish again, while we're just rejecting, very simply, the monthly 9. But we know that because, again, Bitcoin's chart looks the same. And so we'll go back to Bitcoin here, but I just wanted to really talk about total first. Volatility is still firing off, and this should still fire off to the downside. And until that changes, this is still more likely to actually give you a breakdown towards the EMA 100. I'll take the 55 off. I only look at that for crosses. What you're going to notice is once you take that 55 off, you really see that really once you get under 2.54 trillion, what is stopping really price action from reaching down here? It's almost like we're here. We had the false breakout. You had the deviation, and notice kind of what held as resistance. Well, again, most got bullish, and you even were holding above the weekly 5. My apologies, the monthly 5. So this did end up still resulting into a range low move, or a 34% drop, or a $900 billion takeaway, or decrease, wipeout from the market cap of crypto. So until you get back above 2.59 trillion, you really cannot be bullish here. Are you close, though, to reclaiming it? For sure. And you can easily see back in March, April, that was the spot that held on the monthlies. Even if you were under the monthly 9, that gave you a slingshot move up. So, right, this is a big spot for us. And so now if I go to Bitcoin, what has been occurring, well, right, we kind of know which is the total. It's kind of similar. We do have that silver cross to the downside still. And you are just simply rejecting it still. I mean, you're under the 21. But again, are you very close to maybe invalidating the silver cross? Absolutely. And then Bitcoin ends up getting back above 78,500, which is, again, the same level we've been looking at since mid-May. Then, yeah, we'll have an argument to actually move all the way back up to 82,000. But until then, I do see price divergence here. I am seeing consolidation. Yes, you did the last day ago move down to 76,000. That did hold, and you did hold above the 12-hour 9. So this instantly gave you the move to the 21 and you've hit that. But now as a bear, you're just simply looking for follow through down. So, right, if Alejandro, you're playing this 12-hour silver cross to the downside, it's still very, very, very logical because, again, what we identified was once you got this 12-hour silver cross to the upside, this is what started taking Bitcoin up and up and up and up. So now that we've gone
gay as fuck, not moving down.
Yeah, and it is gay. And it's actually weekend price action. Really. I mean, nothing has changed since Friday. You are still under the 21 and you are still producing lower highs. This isn't a higher high break. You're not counting this as the lower high. That is potential lower high if you would have taken out this low. The lower high is from this high here and this high. So if you can't take out May 20th high, this still will be producing lower highs in the midst of a 12-hour silver cross with a volatility setup. I'm a very simple trader, and to me, that just seems like a very simple perspective to keep because you very easily know where you're wrong, essentially. And what you're going to notice is you haven't even gotten back with the 12-hour median, and it has just shifted back up. It is pressing right on that 12-hour 34. So even if Bitcoin from here moves all the way up to the 55, not going to invalidate the silver cross, just like it's not going to give you a 12-hour buy trigger. But it will make it weaker, and that's where then you would need to start rejecting the 77,800. So we're at 77,300. Seems like we are very near rejection in this zone, and that's why on the Discord I talked about I'm still scaling shorts here because my invalidation is here, and it's a very easy invalidation. If you go up and do this, you're most likely then going to start breaking out. Once the medians reclaim, look at the move. Basically move up to 80,000s again. But that's not what HVDR is telling us currently. It's more likely to move back down to 76,000, fill this wick low, and at that point, we do end up going back to 76,000. You're going to be super confident that's going to hold? I won't, but that still will be support. And until you actually lose 76,000, that will be the add zone to your shorts or just another confirmation trade. Once you lose that support and you stay under it, you will break down. So yeah, we just need the breakdown now, but we are just still experiencing weekend price action. What's weekend price action? No volatility, right? Less than 1% moves, nothing's really changing, and you're not moving past your open. Right? Like you're not moving past this zone, and this is just the weekend zone. Here. So nothing has changed from Friday. Literally nothing. Now we will go to the daily, and we have now hit the daily median. This is significant because we last bigly rejected on May 15th when we rejected the daily median here. So now we've come all the way up and we've gotten the retest of the daily median. This is significant because you reclaimed it and you lost it. So again, even the daily is still in a bearish kind of formation here. And again, the daily is still in a downtrend. So that's just like the easiest perspective to keep. Daily is still in a downtrend. This was your lower low break. You're just producing a lower high. And what's been the flavor this entire bear market is as soon as you make a lower low, what do? You go in for the lower high aggressively, and everyone gets very bullish again. It's just like here, the lower low, the lower high, down. Here, lower low break, lower high immediately down. I remember how was this bulls when you were clowning and laughing and saying we were going to go up to the 100Ks. We went up 4% on a day, and it resulted into nothing. And this is why, again, we want to just keep the easy perspective until something shifts. We need to just be kind of keeping the idea that what we're now seeing is daily trend shifting down, which has been up. And this is going to correlate to a macro lower high. The daily, 2-day, and weeklies all need to shift bearish for then that monthly to then fulfill the bear prophecy. And for the last 90 days, we've just been moving up. But this move up has taken us predictably to the monthly 9, which is our bull market spot. The bull market spot is the monthly 9 at 82,000 essentially. And as long as you are under the monthly 9, you are still in a bear market. Again, that doesn't mean in 6 days this isn't going to get back above 80,000, and maybe June will be a different market. But until that occurs, we now still have the timeline. And from Friday's stream, it was, okay, this week is the big week, because we know essentially bears are basically just trying to flip this monthly red, put in a top candle here, deviate 76,000. Going into June, you'll essentially be met with, if you lose at 76,000, 75,000, call it the monthly 34, you will just be met with another monthly EMA 100 setup. That'll be majorly damning if into June you get another setup, basically implying a 36% move down in the midst of a monthly volatility setup firing off for the first time on the index in June. And again, this is still statistically pointed down. This is going to fire down as long as really Bitcoin is under, I believe, $86,000. So, I mean, we rallied up. It went up 37%. This didn't shift the monthly volatility. And now what we're doing is confirming a massive bearish setup, which does give you about a 30 to 40% move, 35 to 40% move. Very interesting. Once you lose this 34, you will be getting that basically measured move, which is taking it down to 47,700. This is just taking a while, but understand this is different than what we've experienced before, because what we've experienced before was a bi-weekly lower high, and this is still just a higher time frame ish. 2 weeks is still a big time frame, but a macro is more like a monthly, in my opinion. And so, have we really ever grinded out a macro lower high? No, we have not really. I mean, this was a very aggressive, quick to the monthly 9 smackdown. But we haven't had like multiple green monthlies in this bear market yet. And that was expected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months of down only, leading to 3 months of up only, doesn't change anything. That's just lower high, macro lower high characteristics to me. And it's just like what we identified on the bi-weekly. And this was very important. We identified this here. This was the first form of bearish consolidation we ever had in this bear market. This was something like many people were not understanding, which made absolutely no sense to us, because this was just a clear as day bearish consolidation after you made your lower low break and you were under the bi-weekly 34 and you were getting a bi-weekly EMA 100 target. We had to consolidate for a little bit here, but this didn't change anything. And if you were here in January, you will remember this just aggressively gave you the move down. Many were getting bullish, and once we got follow through, we did start to move down. So what has really changed from this consolidation, which we all identified as bearish, to like this consolidation? Well, really nothing has changed. We have gotten the bi-weekly deviation of the 100, which is a good sign. That is good in theory, but have you even retested it? No, you have not retested it. This will need to be retested, in my opinion, eventually. Might not be right now, could take a year, but that is still something I'm keeping in the back of my mind, is for 6 weeks, now on the 8th week or 7th week, we are now still needing a retest here. And again, that plays into, if we're going to be bullish, this still could grind a higher low, be bullish, have a bullish outcome. But still, things are lining up pretty picture perfect for us. I mean, we had the false breakout. We're now back under the bi-weekly EMA 9. Again, look at this. If we rallied, let's say, to 77,800, which is very interesting because that's just the weekly 21, I believe. Or was it the daily 21? Let me just see real fast, because that is significant. Oh, look at that. Yeah, weekly 21. So I still stand on that. 78,300. Remember what I said. Weekly still in bearish setup. So even if, let's say, we rally up to 78,000 or 77,800, this region here, we are still more likely to be in breakdown. So the bi-weekly to me is still putting in bearish consolidation. This new bi-weekly candle closure is very interesting because we have lost the 9, and you didn't even get above the median. Now, what you're going to notice is this bi-weekly is giving you an interesting setup for the next 13 days. This is telling you that if you don't get back above that 78,700 region, which again, that's kind of interesting how that's lined up nicely with the weekly 21, bi-weekly median. But that's fine, right? That's just a easy area to gauge on, maybe a place we can flip-flop before the 80s. But still, I mean, you've rejected the bi-weekly median, it's shifted down, and this is now saying you're getting technically a measured move per HBDR. From median, you'll move down about 21%. You could argue, right, because I know bulls are saying in the back of their head, well, measure the move up. Upon median reclaim, you'll move up 27%. So regardless, the bi-weekly is giving you a pretty massive setup on HBDR currently. But like I mentioned on the weekly, you are just still in between the 5 and the 9. And actually, now that I'm seeing the bi-weekly, if you all are shorting with me currently, and I am scaling shorts, I am just going to actually add at the bi-weekly 9 here. What is my trading views like lagging? What the heck's going on here? There we go. Because you actually held it and moved up and you've lost it. So technically speaking, this is still, again, this is still in bearish posturing too. I don't look at the 5 holding a strength. That's often weakness after losing a 9, and it's just going to put it into a range. So what you can gather from my analysis on Bitcoin is even if Bitcoin moves up all the way to 78,500 today, I hope no one becomes bullish because that is still a massive bearish retest just per the HBDR. Nothing's actually changed. You are just still in bearish posturing, and you are brewing a move back down to 69,000. This is where the big decision point will come for me. If we do end up breaking down, losing 76,000, that's still your big criteria on if you're going to move down to 69,000. You will reach the 2021 cycle high. That's going to be your big determination on if you're going to make a new macro low or not. Lose the 2021 market cycle. We do understand that nothing has changed really. We are just doing typical consolidation up. And really, I mean, if bulls were going to have a spine, they should have just held above the bi-weekly 9 that at minimum could have given us a move back to 83, 84K. And that could have been maybe the start of bullish price structure. But now that the bi-weekly 9 is lost, we are still in downtrend, and even daily is starting to shift more bearish. You have to be pretty cautious of this rejecting the 78,000 region and then moving aggressively back down to 69,000. I do still think it's worth our attention and time because you still could be getting about a 9 to 10% setup here. And as we've seen this before, it can just happen in one bi-weekly. Like, look at this one bi-weekly candle giving you 24%. 2 weeks, 24%. So what? That's 2% every day? Or am I wrong on that? 2? No, yeah, don't quote me on my math on that at all. But that is still 1% a day. I can say that at least. So, right, that is interesting to me, and that's why we still need to be looking at the monthly, which is still bear goggles. If things do shift here and we do get back with 82K, that's where I will become a bull again. I will be looking at this as some kind of low grinded out. But until that actually occurs, we are now in this spot that just you're waiting now. It's a bear. All you're doing now is you're just waiting. That's the hard part was positioning up here when everyone was bullish in the 80s. And now the easy part is just waiting. And let's just see now if we're going to get that bear break, essentially. Exactly what we had on that bi-weekly. And remember, once you had the bear break, that was just like block 3,000 profits, essentially. You just literally made tendies on tendies on tendies on this one candle. All you had to do is wait and position at the monthly 9 and just wait. So what's the difference here? We're just going to wait. Once you actually break 72,800, that's your breakdown. You'll move down to 69,000. That's your big spot. You lose 69,000, you will get a bi-weekly short setup, and that's just going to be another ETA short, taking us to 49Ks. I will still stand on what I've said before. No surprise. If we end up breaking down, we're going to use the weekly SMA 200 as your big spot of interest. Because what could occur is you just wick below it, you go down to the 50s, 55s, get back above it, don't close, and then break out. And then hindsight will be like, oh, this was just a weekly SMA 200 retest. But that still means Bitcoin needs to at least run the low or near the low still. Only way, in my opinion, to become bullish out of here is get back above 82K. But again, we already know that. That's not a surprise. And actually, we can just simply look at the daily SMA 200 at 80,500 now. If you get back above daily SMA 200, that's going to be your first big sign that this has bottomed and you are actually entering into a bull market again. Again, potentially entering into one, you would need the macro trend to shift. But anytime you see a daily SMA 200 get reclaimed after a major downtrend, that's typically the first major sign, if it holds, that you are about to break out. Daily downtrend, not talking about monthly, just daily downtrend, daily SMA 200 reclaimed, you got the breakout. Daily downtrend, daily SMA 200 reclaimed and held, you got the breakout. Daily downtrend, you got the reclaim of the daily SMA 200 and you broke out. So I don't need to, luckily for me, I don't need to like really wonder, guess if I should be bullish here. It's just get back with daily SMA 200. Bears literally will be fatherless and have no spine to talk about shorts. But that's simple. Until then, you are now very more likely to be shorting. And it's exactly what I mentioned in the 81s to 82,000s. And this is what we are saying. This is the highest financial opportunity spot that we could be in. And still that plays out pretty nicely on this weekly. And you will notice that the weekly EMA 100, again, has just rejected. And that really was no change or difference to something we have been watching since the start of this year. Like since January, we have just been watching the really weekly 100 to get tested, which still easily could get tested again. But it is kind of like, I just think bulls are really grabbing at straws here, honestly. Like you have to like kind of ignore a lot and just hope that this will just break out and we're going to move up. This is still massively bearish, really. And if you just like don't care about the 55, the 21, the 9, the 5, and you just focus on the 100 and the 200, what are you getting here? A range. And you've just rejected the extremity high of the range and flipped it into massive resistance after capitulating here. Like many will look at this candle for some reason and look at it and just say, wow, that must have been a bottom move, versus what started this move. And it was the weekly 100 becoming loss, giving you a capitulating move. So the fact that you rally under that should make bulls very cautious of this just fully breaking down, because you're actually more bearish than when you were in January. Because January you were holding above this. And then you lost it. The monthly in January simply lost the 21. You just did an underside retest of that. And then even viewing just the 9, the 100, and the 200. Look at this. Could this just be the roadmap essentially? Get back above the monthly 9, you break out. Reject the monthly 9, you move down 47,000. Lose this monthly 100, you'll literally capitulate to 20K. And this could be the bottom, and you're actually testing near here again. I don't know, not relevant, but just something to watch. And if you're becoming bullish here, it's like more a splash of water on the face, because it's very easy to flip-flop. It's very easy, but you just need the criteria. And I only say that because this weekend was very annoying. You just had headline trainers talk about the Strait of Hormuz, or whatever it's called. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but the Strait of whatever opening up, the deals closing with the United States and Iran. It's very close, a deal. But what you've noticed is, like for weeks, we've been close to a deal. Trump's been going on the media saying, no, we're going to be finalizing these deals. He said that like 3 times already. What you're noticing is you're just getting a lot of nothing actually in the headlines. Nothing, just froth. till you actually see something change here, you shouldn't be headline trading, and specifically over a weekend. That just seems very predatory. Specifically, when you do know on Bitcoin, you were in 12-hour silver cross. You were looking for a retest anyway. So in summary, to me, Bitcoin here, and I'll look at Bitcoin dominance and Tether dominance, but just for really, we're shorting here at the Academy, because I do have ETH shorts currently, which are fired off and currently active. You just break 78,200. That'll give you a move to 78.5. And if you reclaim 78.5, you will break out to 82s. That doesn't mean you're so back and you should be longing. That's just where you go to your daily. You look at your daily SMA 200 and you just kind of use that as your point. If you reclaim the daily SMA 200, we will become bullish again on Bitcoin. But until then, we're not allowed to be at all bullish here, and you should be looking at some kind of macro lower high forming at a monthly 21, monthly 9, and weekly EMA 100. All zones have not been retested since the loss of January. So that's just, still a very interesting point. And, well, with time, nothing really changes, actually. Nothing changes with time. It could have taken 5 months to rally up to the monthly 21. That would literally change nothing. The time doesn't matter. It's just more, does it actually get a reclaim? You will notice quarterly EMA 9 is now lost, and we're rejecting. You've gotten the bearish retest just per the meme lines. Let me actually show you that. And now what you're looking at here, because remember, the quarterly held this in January, April, that 82K region, and this is what took us to a new high. Kind of hard when you reject it to the T to not still look at that as a little bearish. But again, you will notice that even the quarterly is saying if you get back with 82K, yeah, that's like going to be a really good spot to become bullish potentially. Under the quarterly 9, you are getting a target down to 61,000. This is where like the EMAs can be your friend, because many will look at my moving average ranges on like a 12-hour, 1 hour, 2 hour and say, well, it doesn't work that well, but it works. Versus like on a quarterly, these work actually very well. And this can just be a very easy gauge on kind of where we're at on the chart. And this is still saying under the quarterly 9, you are more likely to move down to the 21. And this is a quarterly, so it'll just take a long time. It only invalidates if you get back above the quarterly 9. And in that case, you just go to the quarterly 5, and you could just be between that range. But so the quarterly is just still in bearish posturing. And once you lose the 61.8% on the quarterly, look at the big drop down to the 78.6% at $44,000. So yes, this is just looking to me like weekend price action that's most likely going to result in nothing. We want to be watching very carefully and actually scaling shorts in this region. If you take out 78,200, that'll be our first big sign that daily is shifting back up, and we are about to break out towards the 80s, just per the median trade, but daily buy trigger. But until then, yeah, I'm looking just for this to lower high and reject again, just like what it did here in May. We made a lower low, lower high, lower high, lower high, bullish everyone, then we just smacked down. And one day we dumped this whole candle. I will say, though, it is good we're getting back above daily EMA 100, 76,000, more likely to move up to 78.5, 78.8, or 77,800 to 77,500, better way to say it, where then that should end up rejecting us. And really, again, you're just looking for some kind of lower high to be formed. And if you are shorting, this potentially is giving you a very, very tight risk to reward here. Like if you end up shorting even here, current market price, and your stop is here, you're literally getting a less than 1% risk here on your trade. And you still won't get stopped if you hit the 21. You won't get stopped if you hit the median. And this most likely will just result into we're right back under the daily 9. You're green on this trade. And once you start moving down, you just can say your stop break even because it was a lower high. So that's why to me, this still is a smart zone to be looking for weakness. We are, though, on a Monday, but the markets are closed. We are just experiencing weekend price action still. What we've noticed since the start of the weekend, which is okay because things were looking very bearish going into Friday. So it makes sense we didn't break down on the weekend, kind of like I wanted, but that's okay because we've just been slowly moving up, but that's just still putting in bearish price structure. And so that is just simply what we want to keep watching. I'm looking at the 5 hour. Let's actually go to the 4 hour here, and let's see where that EMA 100 is. Oh, so we're not even back above the 4 hour EMA 100. And again, this plays into the idea that if you go up to that 77,800 region to maybe 78.5, no, like 78,000. No. Because 78.2 is my stop. That's the zone we don't want to get taken out. But if we end up going back to around the 77,800 region, that will line up nicely with that weekly 21 zone. And you will notice on the 4 hour, you haven't retested the EMA 100. You will mentally note that the last big rejection came off of or near the 4 hour EMA 100, where again, this is a setup I've talked about a lot on stream. If you would have just been watching that, you would have gotten a 6% move so far from that low. Have we reclaimed the 4 hour EMA 100? No. Is it saying we could go up to that point? Yes. What I see on the 4 hour is a evening star here. So it looks like we have top. So this kind of gives you confluence of maybe if you are shorting here, you could even have another aggressive short stop loss here, just using the candlestick here. But I just want everyone to be aware that if you do run this aggressive stop loss, meaning you're literally going to short, literally right here, and run your stop loss at this high, you're getting a 0.25% stop loss. But understand that if that gets hit, you will then short the 4 hour EMA 100. So this is only for aggressive traders, but that is another setup, and you're just solely playing the 4 hour top candle here, which means that in this next 4 hour candle, in 1 hour, 38 minutes, you should see this red. But again, I don't want people to hear that and like run with that idea, because you could just get taken out and test the 4 hour EMA 100 and then move down. But it is nice that the 4 hour EMA 100 is very near here. Price action. So that still can, again, kind of give us a very easy perspective that keeps our risk more in check, specifically when you're trading, let's say that daily daily trend down. And then the 12 hour as well. So in summary, Bitcoin looks weak. It looks like it's just in a daily 12-hour downtrend, daily downtrend. 12-hour silver cross was the last big spot that took us up. So why shouldn't it be the last big spot that takes us down? 4 hour looks like it's topped here, and under the 4 hour EMA 100 means you are still bearish. You are looking for maybe a move back to 77,800, where that should be the second short zone. As long as you stay under 78.2, you are going to be more bearish, and this is going to result into just a move down. Look at the biweekly. This is interesting. If you threw the 5 off, which I don't recommend, but if you do, you would just be looking very easily at a move back to this biweekly 9 and then a rejection down. So that could just play very nicely into that 4 hour EMA 100 short or 12 hour silver cross short. But regardless, I'm not really seeing any kind of long triggers here. We can go to the hourly and see. Okay, so we're running with an hourly trade. And so the hourly maybe is going to reclaim the 9, give you a throwback, and start moving up to 77,800. But I mean, even here, it's kind of like the hourly is not giving you too much here either. So. And what does the 30 minutes have an inverse head and shoulders? Possibly. Right? We see that. I wouldn't put weight on that, but just something to give you a little more confluence with your 4 hour top candle, right? Stuff like that. And it would mean, doot, but it's a very tiny one, so I guess I could measure it. So it'd be a move back to 76.5. More like 78. So take that however you want. Again, that's like 30 minutes. I wouldn't put a lot of weight on that. But again, I will put weight on that if I'm going to play that 4 hour top candle. So just something to be watching here. I will now go to tether dominance, and we will be looking at that very carefully, actually, because we have some good data here. Let's go to the weekly. So we did reclaim the weekly 9. Let's throw the 5 on again, because we did use that for Bitcoin. And so you do see you are just pressing the 5. And so it's, again, you're just kind of between the 5 and the 9. You last week did get the weekly 9 reclaim, which is a good sign. That is something I actually wanted to see going into this week. So we did get that. But now we just need to really start seeing expansion. You are just in a very precarious spot here on tether dominance. Because you could argue this is a weekly top candle as well, but the issue is, in my opinion, bulls are trying to put some kind of bullish price structure here. I mean, you did take out that previous wick high, which then led you to that lower low. Does that mean we're in a weekly uptrend? No, but it's trying to shift, in my opinion. Now, you will need actually to see bulls expand from here. So you are looking to kind of just see a move out of here. You want to see 7.49% reclaimed. But like I said on Bitcoin, the weekly is still in a bullish setup. And even if we end up breaking down from here, in quotation marks breaking down, you will just actually retest the 21. The 21 is a big spot for tether dominance because that was the last big bottoming zone that we really make our lows. So I'd like to see that tested if we start breaking down from here. But again, above the weekly 5 makes it a little less likely, in my opinion. Okay, so yeah, HBR actually says it is more likely, actually. You see that 38.2% with the 21. But again, that doesn't change anything that I mentioned. It just means that if you go up a little bit more to the 78s, that still is going to result in a bearish move. And that most likely just means that our stop loss here doesn't get taken out. Right? If we end up going up to that weekly 21, most likely doesn't take our stop loss, but something to be watching if you are trading here. Because tether dominance to me is still putting in a macro uptrend price action. You are just slowly really trying to grind some kind of bottom here at the 6.96%. And we talked about this setup. We've never actually had like any kind of price action where it's just literally to the T gotten the bounce. And that did result into a bullish move. We've always broken under the 6.96%. Meaning like you've gone under 6.96%, you've hit the 6.4, and then maybe you move up. But you've never just found a bottom off 6.96%. So that'll be strength to me if we do end up finding some kind of bottom here. All depend on 7.49%. You will see for the last 2 weeks, we've been rejecting that zone. So that is still an accurate call out. And if we go to the bi-weekly right now, you currently, let's see here, are actually at just the 5. So this bi-weekly doesn't look bearish at all, actually. This, again, just looks like we're in a deviation play, giving you a throwback, and this is going to spring up. You do notice you are in bi-weekly breakdown. You want to test that bottom 38.2%, and that's at 8%. You're at the 50%. You're at the bi-weekly 5. So again, more reason on why you should be looking maybe for a bounce on here. HBDR says from 50% to 38.2. It's about an 8% move. It's actually basically on par with maybe dropping to 69,000. Let me just double check that. No, like 70,700. Very close though, right? And so it's not bad on the bi-weekly, but that's 2 weeks. So that still kind of plays into maybe in the late May, early June, you are going to see a move on crypto. You will notice bi-weekly volatility has contracted, giving you a setup into June. Now, is it going to fire off into June? We won't know until we know. But still a setup nevertheless. Now, what you're going to notice is the weekly and bi-weekly are looking downtrendy on tether dominance, but that's why I've really been focused on the monthly. And the monthly is still looking very strong. Looks like you had a massive higher high break. I'm not going to use these all-time highs for that. More these lower highs on the monthly. Once you broke those lower highs, this is just grinding out a typical higher low, taking multiple months, and even coming back to the breakout zone. But still, I mean, this is still looking quite bullish. And if into June, you actually get the monthly back above 7.49%, you've essentially done something you've never done before, which is literally very shallow, get a bounce off 6.96%, move up and reclaim 7.49%. Well, what about here? No, this went under. And let me just get the HPDR off so we can all see that. Under. Someone say where? Underwear. No, bad joke. But look at, I mean, this is still looking strong. This still looks strong. Like this still looks to me like it's screaming out it wants to spring going into, well, June. It's like just the typical stair step down, elevator up. That's how it looks to me, at least. And I don't need to be guessing on that. It's just monthly uptrend is up. Monthly 5 is holding. Volatility setup's firing off. Good to go, baby. Let's go. So still looks more likely to spring out of here. 7.49% your big bottoming zone for this chart, though, and that is still something I stand on. Let's see here. Check that 4 hour one more time on Bitcoin. Yeah, so I mean, if you are playing that evening star, still not invalidated here. Just something to watch. Now you have just retested the 4 hour EMA 100 since the reclaim and begin middle May. Now, that is important. We want to be watching this to give some kind of bounce zone, just like you can give you rejections, just like what I mentioned on Bitcoin. Are we near maybe some kind of dump on tether dominance? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But like, this isn't the spot you start, longing Bitcoin. It's just what the chart's saying. This isn't the spot. Even at minimum, you have a 4 hour lower low, so you should form some kind of lower high here. So hopefully that keeps people in check. Move's coming. Daily volatility, I believe 12 hours as well. Move is coming here. Couldn't you argue this was some kind of higher high? This is still grinding a higher low, and you're getting very sneaky price divergence here. Is it close? Yeah, for sure. But this still could result into a bullish breakout. And this will just be better shown on like a 4 hour. Right? And then you can just interpret as long as the 4 hour EMA 100 holds, you're going to move up. And so that's kind of an easy gauge. Doesn't mean you're not going to red dildo this next hour, 27 minutes, and you're just kind of not trapped, but just, move down a little more than you expected. But still, the 4 hour EMA 100 is right in that spot that daily is putting in potentially another higher low. Probably better shown on the 12 hour. Yeah. So tether dominance looks fine to me, actually. It doesn't look concerning at all. I mean, we did get the weekly, and it is interesting. Doesn't really help under 7.49%. But we know even if tether dominance moves down to the 21, Bitcoin moves up to the 21 on the weekly, this still most likely will result to a bearish setup. So we do need to be watching the 21 on tether dominance going into this week. You break down, that's still going to be the spot. But until then, I can't really be front running the rejection here. You can start looking for a 21 weekly move if the 4 hour EMA 100 is lost. So you can literally use a 4 hour to kind of gauge a weekly. And that makes sense to me, actually. If you lose this, you're going to be moving down to the weekly 21 versus then if you stay above it, you're not going to do that. So that's a pretty good perspective. Use your 4 hour in confluence with the weekly. And your daily here. And, well, nothing is of concern quite yet. Doesn't mean it can't quickly turn bad for bears, but I really think we're just doing that very sneaky thing that we like to do over the weekends, which is just kind of grind out bearish structure. You will notice you finally have gotten the 5 day EMA 9 retest, and this is exactly what we talked about going into Friday. 5 day EMA 9 is a big setup. We've talked about this, and this will just correlate to a short setup on Bitcoin, which is you can use your 5 day EMA 5. I know Foreign likes to use that. I like the 9. And with this 5 day, it still is telling you that you are just kind of in a tricky spot, but you are still putting a bearish structure, a bearish formation here. This 5 day did get a bounce, and it is very near the 5 day SMA 200, and this today is closing in 9 hours. So what you can gather is if today you actually lose the 5 day SMA 200, this is actually going to be, in my opinion, a front runnable event over 76,000. If you lose the 5 day SMA 200, the 5 day EMA 9 2 day, that's going to be actually a call for another short, and that's going to be my indication that we are about to bigly break down here. And that just makes sense. The 5-day SMA 200 was the big spot. We were bouncing. We even got a bounce from that point here, got the bounce. So it closing today kind of gives bears a time frame. Actually, today you should see some kind of move, some volatility. Bulls are going to try to break us out, get back above the 5 today, and bears are going to try to break us down. So that's actually very interesting to see that on Bitcoin, which then makes the 4-hour top candle even more interesting, actually. Tether dominance is putting in a topping candle, but that is not confirmed, and we don't run with just things that could be. We want to be watching for 5-day EMA 9 to get a bounce and this form a doji. It'd be perfect, actually, a doji right in this zone, but holding the 5-day EMA 9. Look at this entire move down. You've just been rejecting the 5-day EMA 9. So got to be looking still at that spot as a big bounce spot. And into June, you are getting a 5-day volatility setup, which is still resetting, actually. Five-day under the median. HBDR is saying more likely to move to 6.93%. And then the 5-day median freshly lost. Interesting. And well, if you stay under the median, this will update today, but saying you'll get a move to 71,600. Reclaim it, there's your 90K potentially. %. It's like 12% up, 9% down. So let me see if I need to talk about anything else that's important as we start this beautiful new week. No, I don't think I have anything else. We'll go to Bitcoin dominance now. But again, going on to their dominance still is looking good. And even you're getting a slight evidence of that just by the weekly EMA 9 reclaiming on Tether dominance. I'll go to that real fast. So now it's just more a matter of, or the weekly 9 getting reclaimed. So now it's just a more matter of getting the expansion out of here. That's how I look at it. You're going to fill this wick out. Something like this. You can fill the wick out. And even if you wanted to put like bearish structure, it should be something like that. So that is still what I'm looking at. I'm still very bearish on Bitcoin. And I'll just simply use the daily SMA 200. That is just going to be like, if you want to know where I'm going to start longing with the boys and, you know, buying with Grant, and Scotty, and whatnot, it'll just simply be a reclaim of the daily SMA 200 on Bitcoin. So if bulls want to have a spine here, just get back above here. I don't care what happens before that unlongs. I really don't care if you do this and this and this and we reclaim it. I don't care if I miss this move. Because as history has shown, if you do end up reclaiming the SMA 200 and you are successful in catching that and having the perspective and not flip-flopping before, but after it gets reclaimed, history has shown us that that is very favorable. Where history has also shown that it is not favorable at all to be talking about any kind of bullish moves under a daily SMA 200. So again, I'm a simple trader. I'll just keep that perspective because that's worked well. And the nice part is the monthly 9's right there too. So like how much more would you need to flip-flop? It's like a picture perfect. You know exactly where you're wrong as a short. You know exactly where you're right as a bull. And I like that kind of market. I don't like the guessing game market. You get back above the SMA 200, you will move up. Very simple. And I won't be bearish anymore. But until then, the trend's your friend, and I'm looking for some kind of macro lower high to be formed here. So let's go to Bitcoin dominance. Let's look at the weekly. Let's see if we're moving down still. Do anytime. Okay, perfect. So let's see. It's a naked chart. Just put a moving average on until it matches your bias, boys. Come on, that's what I do. So what we have here is still the very, very predictable move down. When we reach this zone, it was very likely we're going to get some kind of higher low forming here. Most importantly, a retest of the 34. That was back in the day, 2 weeks ago, a week ago at like 59.7%. It is moving up. So what you're seeing is the weekly 34 is trying to kind of meet price here. When price is moving down, weekly 34 is moving up. Got to be looking at that as your big spot. A level that's been rejecting since October, that we've literally been watching since October, gets reclaimed, doesn't change anything for me. What changes stuff are retests, bullish price structure, retests. That's important. Without a retest, you're in an inefficiency is how I view it. And this just makes it very easy for aggressive longs to get taken out here. So until you actually retest 59.69% for the culture, weekly 34, or even at minimum weekly 9, you still have to be looking at Bitcoin dominance to be moving down still. Now, what you've been seeing is Bitcoin D, the D of Bitcoin, moving down, Bitcoin moves up. No. The D of Bitcoin moves down, Bitcoin moves down. And so this still looks like it wants to get a retest and move down, but it could result into a bullish move up. That just to me looks like a move to 69,000. If 69,000 holds, we probably do that. But again, we don't need guessing games here. It's just we're more likely to test the 9 here. And until you actually come down and test the 9, you are more likely to test the weekly EMA 9. You lose it, you will get the move down to the 34. And if you lose 59.69%, that's how you confirm that this was a massive top and you are about to see a massive move to the downside, specifically to 58.7% and also 57.4%. Now, right, again, this bi-weekly just looks like it wants a retest and looks like it wants bullish price structure. So again, more likely to retest, go to monthly. Same here. Monthly has actually been the easier perspective, and monthly is literally saying we should get a retest even per HPDR. Like if we're going to be bullish on Bitcoin D, let's just hold the median and the monthly 9. How funny is that? And then move up. But maybe it's not the time to be looking for Bitcoin dominance longs. And it's interesting because this whole month you've been kind of here, closing in 6 days. You will just notice it kind of just done nothing all month on Bitcoin dominance. This closes like this. This will be on Bitcoin. This will be a top candle, possibly on the monthly. That's more significant on like a weekly, bi-weekly because it's on a monthly. And that was after a mean reversion bounce. It's not like you get a top candle on a downtrend, like moving down here. It's like been moving up for the last 3 months. But very easily, if you lose 59.69%, yeah, good confluence that moved to 57%. So to me, crypto still looks very bearish, actually. I do think that this is an opportunity zone. Seems like markets maybe on open tomorrow might actually move down a little bit. To me, though, it is looking very bearish going into June. Can quickly flip-flop and change. If we actually reclaim 82,000, that'll be my big spot. We can even front run 82,000 just by like the daily SMA 200 at 80,500. But until that actually gets reclaimed, we are more bearish, and any move up to that point is still looked at as an opportunity. You are basically watching today for a move on the 5-day back down under the SMA 200. That's at 76,700. So if you close this 5-day under 76,700, that's actually going to be another short in itself, and we are going to be looking at that as the start of a breakdown. So until then, we're just in a weird spot. We do have weekend price action still. For the last day, you have literally just been doing nothing. Like on the 12 hours, just been kind of doing nothing here. It's better shown here. It's kind of doing nada. And you should just still be watching for this silver cross to the downside to take hold, while also 12-hour downtrend. Remember, the total market cap on crypto isn't a breakdown for me, and it is retesting. Are we close to a reclaim? Maybe. But if this 12-hour gets back above the buy trigger, then that might be a good indication we're going to move up. But not when you're pressing under it. And so you should be looking for this kind of price action still into their dominance. This is or on total market cap. This is something I've been watching on the Discord for the last week now. And this is still saying that we're more likely to move back down to 2.44 trillion. At that point, why wouldn't you just look at this as a massive range? And possibly we're about to literally wipe off $1 trillion in market cap. But that will take time. And so what we need to be identifying is, are we putting in bearish structure here? Are we going to reject? And is this just a very easy hindsight spot to trade? Until you actually start getting back above 77,800, at minimum 4-hour EMA 100, it's just going to be muted stuff. So I'd be actually looking at this price action over the weekend as maybe an opportunity for the new week. And to me, it just seems like as long as you are under that 82K, you're going to be bearish. Very fast, I'll go to Dixie because, again, I do believe Dixie is still looking pretty good going into June, which is exactly what you'd want to see, right? Like the dollar starting to look very good going into June, which is already looking like a bad month for crypto. If you get back above this EMA 100 on the monthly, this will be a deviation setup, and you will get a measured move up to the 120-cent mark. This is more likely to, in my opinion, move up because you are putting in bullish price structure here. All you need to do is take out March high. If you take out March's high with strength, this will be back in a monthly uptrend. This was bullish consolidation, and we are just in a channel. Monthly volatility is now reset. Last time it was reset was in 2024. And last time other than that, it was in 2021. So it's like you have the last time it was reset, the bull market, other time bear market. So with everything I just showed on Bitcoin, it does seem more likely risk is in a bear market. No, and it is in a bear market. Not likely, it is in a bear market. So once this monthly EMA 100 is reclaimed, bulls are going to be very trapped on this red candle because they were running for expansion down and they didn't get it. And then they got the deviation set up. This leads to a retest and a move up. So actually, everything's still looking pretty good. I mean, the war is over apparently, so oil should look bad, I guess, but oil is still looking pretty good too. Right, oil looks like it wants to still get a bounce off the 80s. Look at that 21. This was the last. Remember we dumped big on oil and everyone was calling for the war to be over and the strait to be open and a deal, and all we did was bottom off the 21 here and move up. So we're now reaching that zone again. Kind of interesting, though. Doesn't really seem like oil is too bearish here. Same with the dollar. So that's all I have on Bitcoin. We're now watching 12-hour silver cross and just play that. 4-hour EMA 100 is a big spot. And until you actually get back above, you can use that as a lower time frame rejection spot. We are now currently almost there. So I am still watching to see that retested. You will see the evening star got taken out. So it's okay. But now that doesn't mean that we're not going to reject. We just potentially are going to retest the 4-hour EMA 100 for the first time since we lost it in May. So if you are looking for a trade, I'd be looking for something like this in this region. But that's all I have. Interested to see what Mr. Farhano Mexicano has to say.
Let me share my screen.
Wait a second. Let me show someone in here something.
All right.
Just because they're a little confused on TradingView. Let me change this to fucking Spanish so they can see it the same way. Okay. Can I fucking do this? 1 second. Add to stage, remove. Okay. Oh, here it is. Stop screen. Okay. Lenin, para que veas lo que dices de que no hay forma de hacer esto gratis en TradingView, te metes, aquí está TradingView, no estoy registrado de ninguna forma. Te vas a meter aquí abajo y aquí abajo te ponen las tablas que ve tu Paco favorito de Yahoo Finance. Lo único que tienes que hacer es darle doble clic a cualquier tabla, ponte tú a estas y pones gráfico completo. Y ahí tienes toda la tabla. Y para poder usar indicadores, solamente tienes que registrarte gratis y con eso te dejan usarlos. Pero puedes hacer básicamente lo que sea con esto. Y es, una vez más, completamente gratis. Pero tienes que picarle a ver tabla completa, así full chart en esto. Si no, no va a jalar. All right. Ready, sir.
Alrighty. Let me quickly turn this AC on real quick. Getting a little toasty in this bitch. All right. We'll switch to daily here. And we will zoom out. So now we currently do have momentum flipped up on the daily. We are brushing up right against the median. If you notice, we did deviate this EMA 100. Here's the last time we deviated the EMA 100, and from there we did get a pretty nice size move up to the 200 SMA. Let's see from that close over the 100, how much did we go up? Around 9% so far. Let's find another point where we have deviated the 100 and how much we went up from that point. This one wasn't much. This one was from the close. This one was about 1%. Here's another one. We went up a little bit off of that. This was about another 1.6%. Here's one from here. About 12%, closer to the 9% number currently. Here's one here. Closed over, came back down to retest it, and we closed over it again here, and then went up about 6%. Here's another example here. Closed over it. From there, you went immediately up around like 9.5%, closer to 10%. And so now let's go back and zoom out a little bit. If you notice, we are making a higher low momentum. Price is making a lower low, giving you daily bullish divergence. And this is going to confirm with any close over $77,466. And if that does confirm, that gives you a target up towards the 200 SMA and 38.2%, right around $80,000, somewhere between $80,400 and $81,000. And at that point, if you can get closures over this 200 SMA, that will also give you a closure over the 38.2%. And then that gives you a move to wherever the 78.6 is at that time. Right now, it's sitting right around $88,700. I do think if you get daily closes over this 200 SMA, you're going to go higher than $88,000. I think you're probably going to go somewhere closer to $90,000, maybe $92,000 to $94,000 on that reclaim. As of now, you are brushing up right against that median, and the closing over the median is at 77.7. This would also confirm your bullish divergence, and that's what takes you up to that $80,000 to $81,000 region. And you are currently do have a buy signal in the bearish control zone, and volatility is at 0 with that bullish divergence forming. All right. 12-hour currently is also flipped up. 12-hour is also putting, 12-hour is also putting in bullish divergence. 12-hour divergence, let's see, did it confirm? Did not confirm here. It confirmed, what is this high? 77,265. This is 77. Yeah, so it did confirm on this last 12-hour close. So now we do have 12-hour bullish divergence active, and this is going to be active as long as you're closing over $77,000. And this the easy target of the divergence is going to be this 55 EMA, right around 77,700, and then the next level is about $80,000. And the $80,000 target becomes actionable with any close over about 77,800. 8 hours also flipped up, entering into the bullish control zone with volatility expanding. 8 hours about to very close to giving you a bullish cross here within the bearish control zone. Maybe maximum 2 more closes before this is going to confirm. And this is all you have gotten your close over the 38.2% on the 8 hour, which gives you a move into the 78.6. And right now that's sitting right around $80,000 and $79,979. The 4 hour is currently flipped down. We are right around that reset point on the 4 hour. If you notice, we are taking out all of these previous lows on momentum, where price is still making a higher low, giving you 4 hour hidden bullish divergence. And that is going to confirm with any close over $77,659. And now we have taken out that last 4 hour high. So this is no longer a shooting star dildo, no longer a top candle. And you are above the median, which gives you a move into somewhere around 78,300 to 78,500, which is the 4 hour 200 SMA. You flip into Tether real quick. Could kind of see that 4 hour top candle on Bitcoin is going to be taken out, because this kind of looks like it's going to go down to the 38.2%. All right, zoom out. 2 hour is now starting to flip back up, getting back over that moving average, very close to getting back into the bullish control zone, putting in hidden bullish divergence. Plus, you got a fresh silver cross here on the 2 hour. You came exactly down to the 9, and now you're getting some nice expansion off of that 9. And the close over that 38.2%, which is at around 77,500, say, will give you a move into the 78.6, which right now is at that $78,500 to $78,700 region. Let's go back to Tether for a second. Tether here had a nice swing failure pattern, deviation, took out this high, took out this high, these last two lower highs, and each one of these led to lower lows. So taking that out, closing below, nice deviation, SFP there, and you're getting some nice follow through, and you're losing the daily median. You're getting a rejection of that median. That gives you a move down to the 38.2%, and that is currently a move down of around let's say 2.2%. So if you were to take 2.2%, which is going to be more than 2.2%, because Bitcoin moves more than Tether does, but let's just take the 2.2%. That is right around $79,600, right below $80,000. Alrighty. Let's go back. Fuck, where's Tether? There we go. Yeah, so that getting that 2.2% move to the downside, I don't think it's just going to be a $500 move on Bitcoin. And daily is now giving you a first sell signal here within the bullish control zone. Last time we had that was right over here in April of 2026, and that preceded how much of a dumpski? That was around 12% to the downside. And you also have bearish divergence, because you have bearish divergence here. You have a lower high, higher high in price, and that bearish divergence is going to confirm with any close below 7.402%. Over here, interesting. You also had bearish divergence right around that March-April point, just like you have now. Did you also take out? Oh, you also did a nice SFP here too, where you took out these last highs and failed to close above them, just like you did here. $12-hour also losing the median now. 12-hour also has bearish divergence between these 2 points. Did that confirm? Let's see. This was 7.407. Nope, didn't confirm there. This will confirm, not confirmed yet, but it will confirm with any close below 7.398%, which we are lower, below as at this moment. And that will give you a target down to that same 7.2s area. And the jewel is also making bearish divergence. 8-hour also currently flipped to the downside. Is there any bearish divergence here? Yep, 8-hour also has bearish divergence with volatility expanding, and you got a sell signal here with the pink crossing below the yellow in the bearish control or the bullish control zone. And you've lost the 38.2%, which now you are reaching the target of that, which is the 78.6. And as, from here, it does make sense to see a little bit of a bounce. And if you do see a bounce, like it takes you into somewhere around the 61.8%, right around this 9 EMA, around 7.45, 7.46%. But as long as you are closing below this 9 EMA and the 61.8%, it is likely to make your way down to somewhere around the lower 7s. 4-hour also freshly flipping to the downside now, very close to getting right to that moving average. Let's see what else. Is there any bearish divergence? Nope, not here. You are taking out this previous high on momentum, or price is still making a lower high, giving you possibility for hidden bearish divergence here, whereas Bitcoin has hidden bullish divergence, and this will confirm with any close below 7.398%, and that gives you a move down to the minimum 4-hour 200 SMA right around 7.3ish%. And the 4-hour Joule is rejecting getting out of the bearish control zone, flipping back into a sell signal. 2 hours also freshly flipping to the downside, deviating the bearish control zone, now flipping back into it with volatility expanding. See what else. You do have hidden bearish divergence because you took out this previous high in momentum, or price is still making a lower high. That did confirm right around this region here, and now you are continuing to play out, and you got a fresh silver cross to the downside on the 2 hour, whereas Bitcoin has one to the upside. And you're also losing this 38.2%, which brings you down to the 78.6, which is currently right around that same 7.3% number. Go to the 2-day. 2-day is now also starting to flip to the downside. If you notice, we took out this high on momentum and this high here, and with putting in 2 lower highs, giving you 3 drives of hidden bearish divergence here. And this is going to confirm with any close below 7.402%, which we are below at the moment. And we also have rejections of this 38.2%, which just by the HPDR rules, going along with that bearish divergence gives you a minimum move to the median, which is right around 7.17%, closer to that lower 7% number. And the bearish divergence, along with that, with the loss of the 38.2%, would give you a 61.8% chance of coming down to this bottom 38.2%. And that's currently right around 6.8%, closer to 6.9%. Nice number. Go to the 5-day. 5-day is also not turning into a nice SFB here. We're getting a rejection of the median. We did take out this last high on Tether, and if you see from here where we did make a lower low, this is the lower low from this low here, and now we are getting the lower high, and we are sweeping this last high as well, which makes it even more bearish here because this is taking out the liquidity from this side. Now you're likely going to take out the liquidity from this side, and you're forming quite a nasty shooting star dildo here. It closes in about 9 hours. If you do close like this, you're coming down at a minimum to somewhere around 6.9%, and that's going to be how much down on Tether? Around 5.5%. If you were to take 5.5% on Bitcoin, how much does that take us to? About $81,000, which is above our daily 200 SMA. See what else there is. Let me zoom in here. Took it out. So there's some hidden bearish divergence also present on Tether, and you're also very close to putting in another drive of hidden bearish divergence. And this will confirm with any close below 7.267%. And if that confirms, that gives you a target at a minimum down to somewhere around 6.6, 6.7%. More likely, probably going to come down towards the 100 EMA, which is lining up at the 78.6%, which is also going to be a target of losing the 38.2, and that's at around 6% flat. Weekly, massive top candle here. This is a shooting star dildo here. You are currently getting momentum flipped up on the weekly, but this is still very negative territory here with volatility still down, and you still have a sell signal playing out with the pink crossing below the yellow in the bullish control zone. Let's mark this off and see if the average move has been fulfilled. You haven't had this in a long time. The last one was in January of 23. And we remember what happened in January of 23. I personally don't think this time is different.
It isn't different from January 2023 or different from the 4-year cycle?
I mean, different from the previous Joule setup.
Got it.
All right, there we go. We'll take these out now and see how much we went down on each of them. This was a move of 36.8% down. Let's take a more immediate one so then we can get the these like ranges. So first 23-ish%, and then you went down to about 36.8. All right, next one. About 18, and then about 23. So the 23-ish% seems to be the low end number. About 23-ish, 24%, and then 49.8%, 54%. $16, 20%, 20.5, closer to 23. Minimum move so far seems to be around 20 to 23. 21, and about 27. All of these numbers seem are rhyming so far. And this current setup. So the minimum one we've seen so far out of all of them has been 20 to 23% to the downside so far. Currently, we've seen like 1/3 of that at 8%. Is this time different? Probably not. If we were to take somewhere around 20%, 6% flat, just like we saw in the previous target, right around 6% brings you to the weekly 200 SMA. And just for funsies, we'll take it 50%. First, we're around 30s right here, and then 50% brings you to around 3.7%, taking out this last low. I'm not saying we're going to do this. I'm just measuring this out for funsies. What I am more confident about, though, is that 20% move, which is the minimum move. Actually, 20% is lower than the minimum move. It's closer to 23, 25, but we'll just be generous and say 20%, and that brings us to 6%. And unless this time is different, probably going to do that. Let's go 2 week. 2 week also flipped to the downside, although 2 week is putting in possibility for hidden bullish divergence because you are taking all of these lows on momentum, or price is still making higher lows. You have about two drives of hidden bullish divergence here. This will require a close over about 7.715% to confirm. And if you do confirm it gives you a move into current all-time highs. But as of now, this is not confirmed, and you are still in a breakdown here with the loss of your 38.2%. You got a nice bearish retest of your 38.2% on this last candle. So you've already fulfilled the bearish retest of the 38.2%. And as of now, your next target would be the 78.6, which currently is sitting right around 6.2%. What else is there here? Came very close to putting in bearish divergence, but not quite. Monthly also currently flipped to the downside on momentum. This is the first time that monthly momentum has flipped down from this region since all the way back in October of 2022, where you actually solidly flipped down was right around November. And November of 2022 was right around the bottom of the bear market. And if you also notice, you are making a macro lower high here on Tether because you are making a lower high from here, from these points here, but if you notice, momentum is making a higher high, giving you macro hidden bearish divergence on Tether, and this is going to confirm with any close below 7.094%. And if Tether has macro hidden bearish divergence on the monthly confirmed, whereas Bitcoin has hidden bullish divergence on the monthly confirmed, there's not much argument to be made that Tether is not going to come down to this bottom 38.2%, which is also the target of rejecting your top 38.2%. That puts you at about 5.37 to 5.4%, and that's a massive move down. That is like more than 20%, 25% down on Tether. That you can run the math on 20% up. That would be like $14,000 up on Bitcoin, bringing you right around to $91,000, $92,000. And once again, this is just a possibility as of now. You have not confirmed this hidden bearish divergence, and this is only going to be possible as long as you are closing below 8.091%. As long as you are closing below that region, you are going to have that macro hidden bearish divergence. And once you make a local top here, that's going to confirm that divergence, and you're going to get that move down. And see, the last time that we had monthly hidden bearish divergence on Tether, let's see. Do we have it here? Right around this region, because you took out this previous high right here, and momentum was still making price was still making a lower high here, and then you got a massive move down. Let's see if you have another example. Do we have it Not here. Well, you got it right here. So you took out this high, you took out this previous high on momentum. Price made a lower high. You got hidden bearish divergence, and that took you down. Just was in July of 21. Took you down about 43% on that confirmed hidden bearish divergence. So pretty big deal. Let's zoom out. Quarterly now, and quarterly is also giving us a nice rejection of this 38.2% on the last quarterly candle. You got your bearish retest right there, and then from there you're likely going to come at a minimum down to this 5 EMA, which is your fastest moving average, and that puts you at around 6.6%. And the 9 puts you closer to 6.2%, which is the same 6.2% number that we saw previously. All right, let's go back to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin currently starting to flip back up on momentum on the 2-day. Let's see what this closes. You are taking out this last low on momentum here, while price is still making a higher low from this point, giving you possibility for hidden bullish divergence. And this is going to confirm with any close over $77,466. So same number as we saw before. Ideally, we want to see also a close over this 9 EMA and this 38.2%, which we are brushing up against right now at 77,800. Then you will have a reclaim of the 38.2% with your hidden bullish divergence, which will take you up to somewhere around $81,300 to $82,000, and your currently your daily 200 SMA is right around $80,400 to $80,500. So you would only have to hold that by that before the daily closing basis by around $1,500. 5 days currently also turning into a nice bottoming candle here after sweeping these current lows, putting in a swing failure here. The definition of a swing failure pattern is taking out previous liquidity area and failing to close above or below that area, which as of now we are forming, and we are still above this 200 SMA. Got about 8-9 hours left to go. Ideally, we can, if we want to close this green, and we want to hold over the 21 and this 9 EMA here, and then we should see a move into somewhere around at least $80,000. And momentum is currently flipped to the downside on the 5-day, and you are currently putting in hidden bearish divergence with volatility currently at basically 0%. Weekly also took out this last major low at $74,900, and then you failed to close below it, putting in a nice SFP here, and you are holding over the 9 EMA. If you switch over to Tether, we're also holding over the 9 on that as well, but you are putting in a massive shooting star dildo here, kind of bearish. What else? And you're also very close to a bullish cross here with the pink about to cross over the yellow. Go to the 2-week. 2-week is also flipped up on momentum here. 2-week is putting in possibility for hidden bearish divergence because you are taking out this high on momentum where price is still making a lower high, but this is going to require a close below $74,156 to confirm. And if you do confirm that, that gives you a move down to somewhere around $61,000 to $62,000 for a slight bounce, and then you're likely going to find your way somewhere around $45,000 to $46,000. But as of now, this is not confirmed and still pointing up with volatility at 0%, and you are still holding over the 2-week 5. Jewel signal is still playing out here. Let's go to the monthly now. Monthly is also flipping up, getting back over that moving average with volatility contracting. The last time we had monthly flipping back up over the moving average from this region was all the way back here in December of 2022 when the bear market ended. The last time that we had monthly momentum even flipping back up, excluding from where it flipped back up from, was right around here in September of 2025, where we did make a slightly higher high. So as of now, we have not had a single point where momentum has on the monthly close back over that moving average, and then we got a very heavy move to the downside. That's never happened. So unless this time is different, probably not going to happen. And we have this sell signal is still playing out here with the pink crossing below the yellow. But since that has happened, let's see how much we have gone down. This has been about a 45% move to the downside, almost a 50% move down. Kind of safe to say that kind of move probably played out now, 50% down. The monthly volatility setup is right around a 40 to 50% move. This isn't a volatility setup, but this is the Jewel setup giving you that sell signal. Quarterly is still below the 9, brushing right up against it at $78,400. This would be the area where if you can close back over that 9, I do think you're probably going to go somewhere around $100,000 after there. Very big if though, because you're still below it, and quarterly momentum is still flipped down, and you still have a sell signal here on the quarterly jewel. Now let's go into the RSI. Daily is now putting in another drive of hidden bullish divergence on the RSI. This is going to be multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence, and this is going to confirm with any close above 77,466. Same number happens once again. So now you have another possible drive of hidden bullish divergence approaching with your reclaim of that daily 100 EMA. If that does confirm, this is going to give you a target at this 200 SMA, which is currently sitting right around $80,400, $80,500, and also is lining up with my meme line now. And if you get any closures over this, then we are likely full-on bull mode back up to somewhere around $90,000 at a minimum, but probably going to go towards 100. But we are that doesn't require a close over this 200 SMA. As of now, this bullish divergence would only give you a target to tap that 200 SMA, which is the only thing I'm looking for so far. It's only coming up to tap this 200, not front running any closures over that as of this moment yet. And now we will switch to Tether. Tether is putting in hidden bearish divergence here, whereas Bitcoin is putting in hidden bullish divergence. And this is going to confirm with any close below 7.586%. And then that gives you a move down to the daily 200 SMA on Tether, which is right around 7%. And this goes along with your neutral zone at 7.04%, with volatility now back at extreme lows. But we'll get to that on the momentum chart, because the volatility, for the volatility setup, the BBWP is only half of it. You need to add in the advanced stochastic, or you can't see which direction it's going to fire off in. Eight hours got bearish divergence. This is going to be active as long as you're closing below 7.497%, and your next target is the bearish control zone that sits at 7.2. And zoom in here, and we got a bearish cross within the bullish control zone. 4 hours got bearish divergence, although you're in the bearish control zone. You're already in the critical zone too. 2 hours got bearish divergence. 2 days about to put in a fresh drive of hidden bearish divergence, whereas Bitcoin is putting in bullish divergence. This is going to confirm with any close below 7.586%, same number as before. And this gives you a move down into the 2-day 100 SMA, right around 7% flat, with volatility now very close to also firing off. Five days got hidden bullish divergence. You've hit the easy target, which is the neutral zone, and now you are turning into a pretty massive shooting star doodle here, pretty red, pretty ugly. And if this does confirm, that you're likely going to get a move at a minimum down to this bearish control zone, which currently sits at around 6.5%. That's a pretty heavy move down. And switch to this one. Actually, we will. And also, what also helps to challenge perspectives is inverted. Now that we've inverted it, you took out this low, you are still holding above it, closing kind of just look like this is going to test upwards somewhere around this region here, right around 6.7%, closer to 7-ish%, just from simply flipping it around. I'm just making structure here. Higher lows.
Well, if you flip it like that, it looks bullish if that was Bitcoin, because Bitcoin does that before it goes up.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Bitcoin makes lower lows before it goes up.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like on your Bitcoin chart, just put the regular Bitcoin chart and do the weekly.
Inverted or not inverted?
Not inverted. Just your regular Bitcoin chart. So just like that, you see the April lows? No, from last year. The tariffs. There you go. You see how it went down before it went up?
Yeah. But this was also a SFP because it didn't close.
No, I understand. It's just when Bitcoin's on an uptrend, it makes lower lows before it goes up, which makes no sense for technical analysis. But like on the right side above your yellow line, Bitcoin went up on the previous move that dumped, to where you are. Literally the one that touched that yellow line above. You see that wick on the top left? And I'm sorry, it's horizontal yellow line, the meme line.
This one?
Yeah. So on the left, there you go. You see it touched it first and then it consolidated on the way up, which in any other chart that would be bullish, but that's bearish on Bitcoin.
I'm not following. I'm kind of retarded.
Bitcoin makes lower lows before going up to all-time highs like it did in April of 2025. Right now that it's falling, Bitcoin makes higher highs in order to continue to make another lower low after. So you're
We
still
made a lower low
doomed.
here, though, no?
Huh?
We made a lower low here, though, no?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is before it turns into the other, like into a real uptrend. So the argument for what you're saying is exactly the move above it. Right? Everyone that got in at the move above it when it fell above the horizontal yellow line on the left. That it looks identical to the one you're looking at right now, right? So everyone could have made that argument like, look, it made a lower low there and it never did another one until it really fucking dumped hard. That's what I'm saying. So Bitcoin consolidates the other way around on a bull market and the other way around on a bear market.
On this one, it didn't take out this last lows.
Yes, but
And this one did take out this last low.
it didn't before. I understand what you're saying. Like if you're just looking at technical analysis as is, yeah, until, it doesn't work anymore.
No,
What you're saying is
I
completely
get it.
accurate.
I
But
think I get it.
if I'm just looking at this from a Bitcoin point of view, I'm still like, nah, this is just playing into what it always plays. But I see. I mean, technically speaking, you're completely right.
Pardon my retardation.
No. This is how everyone reads charts.
Now we'll go back into Tether. Okie dokie. What else you got here? Oh, you're also forming some hidden bearish divergence on the 5-day also because you took out this high here. Price made a lower high from this point here, and this is going to require a close below 7.267%, and that'll also make a bearish engulfing dildo, and then that's going to come down to somewhere around 6.7%. Weekly also has hidden bullish divergence here. This is going to be active as long as you're closing over 7.009%, and volatility is back at extreme lows. Right now, you are very close to the bearish control zone. It's at around 7.19%. Just want to take out this last weekly low at around 7.346%. That's going to confirm this as a top candle, and then you're likely going to make your way down to somewhere around 7.2%. 2-week, you're starting to lose the bullish control zone on the 2-week. You got a local top here. Volatility is now basically back to extreme lows. We'll get to that on the momentum chart because we need to see the pivot. Monthly now also putting it on the RSI, also putting in that macro hidden bearish divergence from this high to these highs here, because you are taking out the momentum high right there. And this is going to confirm with any close below 7.094%. And then that gives you a move at a minimum down to around 6.92%. And then the next target will be right around 5.47, which does line up with the HPDR number we saw previously of right around 5.37 to 5.4s. Nothing there. All right, now let's go over to momentum. Alrighty, let's go to Tether here. Daily on Tether is currently flipped down. You are putting in hidden bearish divergence on Tether because you are taking out all of these highs while price is still making lower highs. This is going to require a close below 7.402% to confirm, which you are currently below. And that gives you a move down to this 200 SMA, which is currently at 7%. And volatility is now back at extreme lows on Tether with momentum flipped down. So if this does expand, statistically, this is to the downside because you are below 7.56%. This is where the advanced stochastic comes in, because just this alone, you don't know which way it's going to fire off. 12-hour now very close to losing this silver cross, also with volatility now just about to start firing off, and you are still pointed down, and you are going to remain pointed down as long as you're closing below 7.67%. This starts expanding here, confirming expansion. This is going to be a downside setup. 8 hours currently also pointed down, and it's going to be pointed down as long as you're closing below 7.5%. 4-hour freshly flipped down. It was previously flipped up, and you are going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 7.45%. Check the real quick. Yeah, looked at that. 2-hour also flipped down with volatility expanding, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 7.4%. 2-day currently flipped up, but it will flip down if you close below 7.33%. With volatility very close to expanding. What else? 3-day, 5-day actually. 5-day currently flipped up with volatility back at extreme lows, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 7.3%. You want to see what this pivot goes to whenever we close here, because if this closes as a shooting star dildo, this pivot is probably going to go up.
That's today. That's the good news.
Yep, in about 8.5 hours. Weekly also currently flipped down with weekly volatility at extreme lows. And if this weekly setup does also fire off, currently statistically it is going to be to the downside, because we are going to be flipped down as long as you're closing below 7.63%. And weekly has that shooting star dildo here. And once we take out this weekly low at 7.346%, I do think volatility is going to start ramping up at that point. Okie dokie. And like this would be like a similar setup where you're still over that 9 and still made a lower low. All right, 2-week also now entering extreme lows on volatility, and we are currently pointed heavily to the downside. So if this does expand, this is going to be also statistically to the downside, and you are going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below 8.27%. This is where the advanced stochastic comes in, because this closed back over all of our major EMAs. So this would be upwards volatility, but this tells you no. Also monthly, very close to flipping down. This is the biggest one so far for me. You got 6 days, less than a week to run this up almost 1% on Tether. Because if this flips to the downside, this is going to be bearish. The last time that we flipped down on this area from Tether was all the way back over here in April of 2023, or somewhere around this region, like July to April of 2023, sometimes spring to summer of 2023, and we got a massive move down. This was also bearish divergence, but if you notice on the stochastic, we also got macro hidden bearish divergence, because we are taking out these previous highs on momentum. Price is still making a lower high. On the stochastic, it's a lot easier to confirm this. On the RSI, you need to close below 7.094%. On the stochastic, you only need to close below 8.24%. So we got to see how much of a rally in the next 6 days to keep this from flipping down. Somewhere around 11 to 12% you need to see in the next week to keep this flipping down. And that's going to be somewhere around like 15 to 20% down on Bitcoin if this goes up, or goes up that much. What else? Let's see if this previous, did we make any divergence? No. You got some bearish divergence in this point. Let's go back to the other ones. No, so you don't really have any hidden bearish divergence. This would be your first macro hidden bearish divergence in Tether history. And quarterly still flipped up, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 5.7%. And quarterly does have hidden bullish divergence currently, because you took out this previous low. Excuse me, more price made a higher low. Alrighty, now we go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently flipped up on the daily with volatility at extreme lows, giving you a volatility setup here. And if this does expand, this is going to be to the upside because we are getting flipped up as long as we're closing over $75,700. And we got a derp of life here. Also, along with that, once again, reclaim to 100 EMA. 12 hours also flipped up with a volatility setup pending here, and this is going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over $74,600. It's very positive to see these pivots thousands of dollars below price action. 8 hours also flipped up, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over 76,300. Now this is getting closer. 4 hours also flipped up, and it's going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over about $77,000. Go to the 2-day. 2-day is currently flipped down, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below $79,300. But you got that hidden bullish divergence currently pending, and we are about to approach the critical zone. So at that point, we have to see where the pivot goes to, because if the hidden bullish divergence does confirm, likely this pivot will drop. And at that point, you will also have hidden bullish divergence, because then you're going to be taking out this low while you're still closing over $70,000. 5-day currently flipped down with a derp of death. Volatility is contracting, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below about $80,000. Weekly currently flipped up. Weekly volatility setup is still firing off. This did drop below the 15%, but it did not close below the 15% yet, so it has not invalidated this weekly setup. And this weekly setup is still going to be active as long as you're closing over about $73,350. And if we once again start measuring it out from where we expanded, there was right around this candle's closure to cross over the 15%. Which one was it? This one. And we've currently only gone up 5.42% so far. If we were to take the previous weekly volatility setups that apply to the upside, this one was down. Where did we get above 15%? This is not clean. Let's take a clean one where we expanded and went above 15%. Here's one. We got above the 15% right around here in this candle here. We did have a active weekly volatility setup at this point on Bitcoin. We did see a little bit of a move down. Pretty sure everybody got bearish at this point, completely disregarding this weekly volatility setup. And then you saw a nice move up of, let's see how much. About 86%. But let's take the more immediate ones. About 12%, 14%, 26.5%. And that's where you went up to the 80-ish%. And let's find another one. Here's another 5-day weekly volatility setup. You expanded above the 15% right here. This was 26, 30%, closer to that 20-ish% number. And then about 53%. And then, 113%. Let's find another one. Here's another one. So you got above 15% here. Right around here. Initially, about 26, 49, closer to the 50% number. We're going to exclude these. Let's see, here's another one. Weekly started firing off at this point. You went up around 4%. Then you went up about 62%. Here's another one. And this will be the last one. You end up about 48%, closer to the 50% number. So we've seen a lot more than 3. 3 makes a trend. Currently, we've only done 5%. Is this time different? Probably not. Alrighty. And once again, that pivot is at $73,350. 2-week currently also flipped up. 2-week is also very close to giving you a volatility setup. And if this does give you a setup, this is also statistically going to be to the upside, because we are flipped up as long as we're closing over $64,800. This pivot is like $12,000 to $13,000 below price action as of this moment. Quite bullish to see that pivot very low. And with that volatility setup currently pending, and we're still holding right around the $76,000, $77,000 region. All right. Monthly currently also with that volatility setup, but as of now, monthly is going to be a downside setup, and this is going to confirm in about 6 days, 9 hours. And if you are closing below $85,800 and volatility closes over 15%, this is going to be a downside setup. But that doesn't mean that you can't tap $80,000 before playing this downside setup out. Like, let's see where we had a previous downside setup. We had this one right over here. We did confirm that setup. You got a little bit of a move up, and then you got your massive dump ski. See another downside setup. But also that does require volatility closing over 15%. You can close below that number and volatility drops. That front running that. So we got to see that too. And you don't have any more. All right, and monthly is currently putting in possibility of hidden bullish divergence on the stochastic. On the R side, it's already confirmed. But on the stochastic, it's going to be more difficult to confirm it because you got to flip this back up. And quarterly is remaining to the downside, and it's going to remain flipped down as long as you're closing below about $101,000. So basically now on Bitcoin, we're just watching for that weekly volatility setup, which is still currently firing off. We are forming a lot of other higher time frame volatility setups now, like the 2-week is forming a volatility setup, and that's also statistically going to be to the upside if it currently does fire off. One of my main points right now on Tether is the monthly is currently very close to flipping down, and it will flip down in about six days if you close below 8.24%, which we are a good amount below as of this moment. And as long as that monthly does flip down, the last time we have flipped that monthly back down in this region, we led to very significant rallies. Even flipping it back up at all, like ignoring where it flipped back up from or flipped down from on Tether, has led to significant moves to the downside. But if you take the region for where it's flipped back or where it's going to flip down from, and you compare it with the last macro high, that puts in macro monthly hidden bearish divergence, which will confirm with any close below 8.24%, whereas monthly on Bitcoin already has the hidden bullish divergence, and we're still holding over $76,000. Weekly is still firing off. We've only done 5% on the weekly so far, which is going to be not even close to the lowest end move we've seen. The lowest end moves are somewhere around 20 to 25%. So unless this time is different, probably going to not do only 5%, but the invalidation for that is going to be flipping the weekly down, which is going to be any close below about $73,300. And if that happens, then the weekly is done. That's going to be the lowest one we've ever had so far, and it'll be the first one that only did 5%. And as of now, I have to assume that the weekly is going to continue firing off because it does have a 100% hit rate, and I prefer to bet on 100% rather than this time being different. And the invalidation is flipping that back down. Weekly close below $73,300 or a daily close below about $70,000. And the invalidation for long-term bearish is getting a daily close over about the 200 SMA. But as of now, my idea is just tapping that 200 SMA around $80,000, and then we have to reevaluate at that point. If close over the 200 SMA, then happy days, we can pump to 90,000. But to reject that 200 SMA, then that monthly volatility setup is likely going to play out to the downside and take you to somewhere around $40,000 to $45,000.
Wait, so there's no other edge? So basically, the invalidation on your end is the same invalidation for Alex, the daily SMA 200?
For being long-term bullish, yeah.
God fucking damn it. Oh, this is a nightmare. He's playing with all of us. This fucking thing. It was so close to getting me out by $50. He didn't. All right. Well, fuck it. We'll do Sol and get the fuck out of here. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And not liking that gay song.
Totally organic price action, by the way.
Yeah, I know. And that's the fucking thing, right? And that's exactly the fucking thing. That it's such bullshit. Either way.
I also forgot to mention one other thing.
What?
In about 6 days, on the 31st, we have a bull moon.
Yeah, but that signals tops, right? Or bottoms.
Local bottom.
Okay. Local bottoms. Because the last time we had, let me show my moons. This one right here was a top. We already had seen the top, and he did move down. And then you could say that you're going to get that right here. And then it could have signaled that, or maybe here and go higher. But at the same time, it's the gayness of the SMA 200, which I agree. I sadly agree with everything you boys said, and I'm out of creative ideas because it's literally a 1-and-1. I'll show you like quickly for mine. So number one, just like you're saying, is this time different? I don't think so. Is this time different in a 4-year cycle? I don't think so. Like, that's a hard thing for me to move out from, right? That's first. Second, just like I said, real quick so that we're on the same page here. Before Bitcoin makes a move up, it makes a move down, and it does lower, lower lows all the way. And then it goes up. And then before it continues to go up, it does low, low, lower low, and it goes up. It doesn't throw the lower low first. Like, this would be like this, and then like this to go up. That's what everybody knows in technical analysis. There's more proof right here, right? These channels that go down, and then it goes up. And now, on the other end, this bullshit that he does a first low, and then he does lower highs, higher lows, and then he dumps. And then the first time he dumps hard so that you cannot invalidate it with anything, continues to go up, makes a big difference in the price, and it goes down. So it keeps doing that. It hasn't changed that, right? It's the same bullshit.
The one slight difference, though, is on that one, there was no weekly volatility setup.
Yeah, if you want to use volatility. But sometimes these fucking setups also like turn around, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm just simply going on the gayness of the chart because it's literally a 50-50, which is really annoying. The other point to this right here, the low. Oh, this. We know Bitcoin likes to take fucking lows before it goes up. And he's just living this low right here like it's nothing. Like, don't worry about it, buddy. The one in 58,800. Like, if I wanted to see Bitcoin go up, if I would have said, you know what, this is really the low, I would imagine that this would have taken it out, at least right here. And he didn't. And that to me makes me say, all right, I'm going to wait a little bit more. The other thing is, when I'm on the weekly, or not even the weekly, really pretty much because you have a silver cross to the downside on the weekly, you're retesting the 21, the 100 rejected you, and the 21, you're still under. Let's go on the daily. 21 daily, we were above it, which is the yellow one right here. We were above it this whole time with a silver cross to the upside. While we were coming down, we were underneath it, and we did a few SFPs above it and whatnot. Then we really had a rally, sustained it above the 21. You broke it down right here, and now, today, you're literally just retesting it. You see it? Right here. So that's just
interesting, actually, because that ties in with the daily median being tested as well.
So it's just retesting that. Then the 34 was also another point that once you broke it down, you've been staying under every single one of these closes, and you haven't been able to get above it until this one, but you haven't really closed, so we can consider that you're above. Then the 9, you lost the 9 right here, you retested it, you retested it, you retested it, and hopefully you're breaking it out, but you still have that 21 that was the last thing that you broke out, and still down here. So really, there's 2 things that I'm using for invalidations right here. This is one area, and this is why I'm using it right here. So we try to break it, we try to break it, try to break it, try to break it, try to break it. We did, boom, excellent. Up to SMA 200, rejected it. Great. You lost it. Once you lost it, you didn't really touch it right here, although it looks like you did. So you might get another shot at this area of the 78,200s, whatever. Or my line in the sand would be this area right here. This would be the final one. Like, once you break $79,000, you should go up, because that means you SFP this area. You have almost a head and shoulders, because you have like a shoulder, the head, but you would need to form the other shoulder, which you haven't done. Or you can just go up. But Oh, and the other point to the bulls, for example, you did, in fact, break this low and didn't continue. That's bullish in my view in a Bitcoin chart. So it's just like the gayness. And then when I go on the monthly and look at this, that's not good at all right here, because you're finally just retesting the area that broke us down, which was right here, the $82,000, which was what held you upon closes during the tariffs, the Bitcoin tariffs, the very famous Bitcoin tariffs. And now you retested that. That also turned out to be your 9 and your 21 on the monthly, and you're getting rejected. So it's literally, it's the gayest shit in the world. Now, if I go back to Solana, just real quick, because I use Solana as a big reference, Solana's got a daily silver cross to the downside that keeps expanding more and more, right? And you're getting this type of price action right here. And yeah, Solana didn't close below the channel, but it hasn't really like done anything meaningful either to the upside. And when I look at the 12-hour on Sol has been rejected to 21 like a motherfucker. And now you're about to lose the 200 again. So it's literally in between everything.
Yeah, it's not going to make it easy for us.
Say that again?
It's not going to make it easy for us.
No, not at all. Like this is either a trend change or a major move, like continuation to the downside. Right? Like that's what we're looking at. This is what it feels like to be in those situations, because I took note during the tariffs. And now again, what gives me the extra point on this is you need a flush. Every single time you get one of these moves to the downside before you go up, you need to get rid of all these fucking lucky motherfuckers, right? Because that's what Bitcoin does. It gets rid of everyone so that no one can do shit. And he didn't do that. That's what keeps me thinking, you know, I'm still not going to give this a major thing to the upside, but also I can't say to the downside either. The one thing that keeps me thinking, it's mostly that I understand that no one understands that very strong QE begins in January of 2027. That and that's also another big, let's see what happens. And that's a big problem too, by the way, for everyone, economically speaking, because people are going to become poorer and they're going to be like, dude, we're in a great economic time right now as the market keeps going up for 3 years again until 2030, 2031. Once they start that, and then people are just going to be in higher debt. It's fucked, but this is what's about to happen. So are we getting a flush or not? That's mostly my question, because I know we're going to go up, but
who knows? And no one's talking about that in January 2027. I only learned it from you, so that's a big point. And I can't imagine we're just gonna just bottom now and move up. QE starts, we're all happy and horny. And I mean,
no, I would say you need one scary moment. Like again, before we went up in when we touched the bottom in 2022, they told us that nuclear war was inevitable with Putin. When we continue to go up sideways, they told us that the banks were going to explode, like the bank crisis in March. And then before we really moved up, we had the Jews getting attacked by the fucking Palestinians, pieces of shit monsters. And we gave our friend, who everyone forgot about, Zelensky, about how you feel about that name. Do you guys remember who that is?
I forgot that
my nose just started to itch when I heard that name.
You know, you know what I mean? Like we had 3 terrible things that told us like the market's going to go down so that you wouldn't get on it. But right now, everything is just like, everything is cool. Like we did have bad news right here, which makes sense. This was nuclear war with Iran. We were going to terminate them and everyone was like, oh my God. But even if we're going to go up and continue to go up, I need more bad news. Like this is too easy. They're telling everyone, hey, yeah, super bullish. Like, do you agree that the news is more bullish than bearish?
Currently, yes, but I haven't been watching any of the news, so I didn't even know that there was a ceasefire.
I don't know anything about that either.
It's on Friday. So we got a deal is very imminent, but they've been saying that for like 15
Well, yeah,
times.
because the news is just to get everyone, like they say on and off, on and off. And the thing to me, the lie comes with there's two things that have to happen. Oil is not done because, again, oil might come to this area, and this is the trade that I was speaking of in the morning, or to the 34, because I want to open another long on oil. Because, dude, the energy problem is not coming from Iran. That is the most retarded fucking story in the world. The energy problem is just we have an energy problem across the world because they're using all this compute power and the energy distribution is fucking terrible through the grid. Period. So that's a lie. This isn't done. Like, they're lying about this. I know that. And then the DXY hasn't followed, but it hasn't fallen either. So you're still missing that move. And natural gas, it's still stuck in the same
And
range.
speaking of energy, people are talking about how gas prices are so high in America. They're like $4 in Texas. Gas is 100 Mexican pesos a liter here in Guatemala.
Damn, that's fucking crazy.
That's 400 pesos a gallon. It's over $20.
Wait, a gallon? Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy here. The gas, it's fucked.
I mean, you know what I mean? And again, oil, like, just think about how stupid this is. Mexico is a large oil producer. Why are they selling their oil to another country if they need it for themselves? Same with the United States, which is the largest one in the world. Like, it's so stupid. The story, you have to be completely retarded to believe these stories. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there's still a lie up here. There hasn't been like bearish things. They keep telling everyone that this is over, that the strait's going to open tomorrow, which is the most retarded thing in the world. So I would think just give me one more flush. That's what needs to happen, because QE will indeed drive the markets higher, just like it did in 20. Like, that was the experiment that they did when Peter Thiel came out and said that the banks were bankrupting themselves and that you should be in short-term treasuries. We're literally doing the same thing. I don't know. It's not a new thing. We're doing the same thing. So for 3 years, I would expect the stock market and crypto to go up again, continue to go up until we get to the 100-year cycle that coincides with the 16, 18, whatever you want to call it. And then everything is going to go to complete fucking shit. But until that point. So now you're just going to let everyone write this up with just good news and invite everyone to the stock market? I don't know. And again, until we pass the SMA 200, I don't know. I don't know. Either way, we'll do Solamis quickly just to analyze another one. Or should we do ETH? What seems more interesting? Because ETH looks so bearish.
ETH never does anything, so it's always very boring.
Yeah, but now it's ETH's time, son. Yeah, it's about to be ETH's motherfucking time, because all the QE is done through ETH. This time around.
Yeah, looking bad. And actually, we should look at ETH, because ETH looks like it's on its way to 1,400.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. So
I saw a meme of ETH on Twitter where they said Ethereum is the only coin where the founder could die and the coin would probably go up because nobody else can do a worse job.
But you see, and meanwhile, you get all the retards from XRP saying it's real world assets getting tokenized. Motherfucker, let them tokenize the dollar first. Okay, let us go first in that, and then we can tokenize real world assets, and then someone that has any sort of business sense will tell you how hard it is to do that in just one chain. But yeah, I mean, the retardedness is floating. So, all right, let's do ETH. Give me 1 second. I'll do this quickly. Ok, vamos a ver rápidamente el índice de esta chingadera de los Bitcoin. ¿Por qué sigo buscando ahí? Que Dios me ampare. Vale. And now we're above that line that we were below. So that's that. Fuck me. Estamos literalmente, esto para que vean, para que entiendan esto, estás ante un cambio de tendencia o una continuación grande. Solamente existen esas dos posibilidades en este momento. ¿Por qué? porque hay muchas cosas que favorecen para la alza, que ya viste el fondo, y hay muchas cosas que favorecen para la baja, que no has visto el fondo. ¿Ok? Cuando volteas a ver tablas de momentum y ves RSI, el RSI te está diciendo, te está dando señales de que ya viste el fondo, que es estilo 2022, principios del 2023, y lo que dice Farhan, ¿no? ¿Va a cambiar la historia y esta vez va a ser la primera vez que estas tablas nos estén mintiendo? Puede que no. Pero también tienes el ciclo de 4 años que continúa siendo bajista y que después de que tienen que pasar más de 900 días después del halving para ver un nuevo alto o no has visto el fondo todavía, apenas vas como en el día 500, lo vas a tomar en cuenta y vas a decir, no, ya vimos el fondo. No sé. Y también la otra cosa que tenemos que ver es, estamos ante un ciclo de 4 años, ¿no? Que normalmente se repiten. Tienes el mismo movimiento con el petróleo y tienes el mismo movimiento con el dólar que todavía no se han dado. Entonces, esta vez no se van a dar, pero al mismo tiempo tienes QE empezando, y ya se los dije, esto nadie lo entiende todavía, por alguna razón, aunque sea ley, lo del Genius Act, donde van a literalmente hacer lo mismo que hicieron en marzo del 2023, y todos sabemos lo que pasó después de marzo del 2023. Tuvimos una gran subida. Estamos literalmente 50-50. ¿Qué es lo que estamos usando como referencia para volvernos más alcistas que bajistas o más bajistas que alcistas? Tienes la línea de acá, la rosa, es el S&P 200, el Slow Moving Average de 200 sesiones. Si no estás por encima es más bajista, si estás por encima es alcista. Punto. Esta línea de acá arriba. No importa cualquier otra cosa, en nuestro punto de vista, porque si no estás jugando con fuego y te puedes quemar. ¿Por qué digo esto? Porque hemos visto 1,000,000 de veces esto. Para empezar, Bitcoin acá te dio un hombro, cabeza, hombro. Ese hombro, cabeza, hombro lo vas a agarrar de acá e ir para acá, ¿ok? ¿Y cómo vas a medir el movimiento a la baja de la parte más alta? A la línea. ¿Dónde rompiste? Rompiste acá. Y eso te pone en $37,000. ¿Tiene que darse todo el movimiento? No, pero normalmente se da, ¿ok? Pero no lo vamos a tomar en cuenta en este momento. Vamos a decir que no importa eso. Eso es otra cosa que tiene a su favor la parte negativa. La otra, habías caído de conectar el tope del 2021 con literalmente toda esta resistencia que encontraste en el 2024, cuando funcionó perfectamente como soporte en los aranceles, funcionó como soporte una última vez en enero y después caíste. Y ahorita lo que podrías estar haciendo, en mi punto de vista, es un SFP, ¿no? Acá. Y si eso es un SFP, simplemente continuarías para abajo. Esto está difícil esta vez, no voy a decir que no, pero también otra cosa que tiene a favor el que va a caer. Cuando tienes las primeras caídas de Bitcoin fuertes, como acá, subes y después caes y vuelves a tener el primer bajón acá y luego subes y luego caes y luego subes y luego caes. Y ahora subes, caes, subes, caes. ¿Ok? Eso va en contra del análisis técnico, pero es como Bitcoin funciona. Y del otro lado, cuando subes y caes, subes más para bajar y después subir más, para bajar y después subir más. En este momento estás simplemente haciendo lo que continuaría para una caída, volteando a ver esto. ¿Ok? Y de nuevo, ¿a qué le vas a dar más puntos? En este momento a nada. En este momento a nada. ¿Hay un cambio de paradigma mundial, global, etcétera? Sí. QE en el 2027, empezando en enero. Y eso nos puede dar un mercado alcista hasta el 2030, 2031. Y ahí veríamos literalmente el crash de toda la historia, porque ese ya sería el ciclo de 100 años. Y eso ahí es donde, aquí lo que están impidiendo es que ahorita nos vayamos a la verga con las tablas, porque recuerda, es lo que mantiene el efecto riqueza, lo que hace que todos los precios se mantengan arriba en casas, coches, etcétera, que no puedan caer, o sea, que no caigan en caída potente. Y la otra es que cuando tienes las acciones arriba, le puedes decir a todo el mundo que todo está perfecto, en lo que no tienen un centavo, están endeudados hasta el tope, se están muriendo del estrés, pero todo el mundo lo va a creer porque la bolsa sigue para arriba. Entonces, ese sería el resultado más culero, por lo que pienso que ese resultado más culero es lo que va a continuar. ¿Ok? Lo voy a poner en la diaria para hacerles esto fácil. Estoy yo todavía en mi corto. Sí, todavía no me ha sacado. ¿Por qué? Porque no estoy usando mi invalidación al mismo nivel de esto. Sácame aquí, porque eso es de pendejos, como lo hemos platicado 1000 veces. Tengo el promedio del 21 aquí arriba. ¿Dónde está mi invalidación? Arribita, en el 77,900, ¿ok? Y todavía no lo ha tocado, o ya lo tocó ahorita, no me he metido en mi exchange. No lo ha tocado. Sigue en ese 77,856. ¿Por qué no más arriba? Porque si te llegas a llevar los 78,180, estos, acá, con este tope, esto va a subir mucho más. Tal vez no mucho más, pero mi siguiente área de resistencia va a ser esta. ¿Ok? ¿Por qué? Agresivamente no pudiste subir, no pudiste subir, no pudiste subir, no pudiste subir. Una vez que lo hiciste, veniste al S&P 200, caíste, lo retesteaste una vez y caíste. Este tendría que ser el retesteo que o te tira o te sube, porque aparte viene el S&P 200 acá. Por eso esa es mi salida de mi corto. Y además, esto ya me pone en el siguiente nivel de jugar entre los 78, 100 y los 79. Para mí, llegar arriba de los 79 me dice que podríamos continuar a la alza. Y ahí es donde te vas a presionar al S&P 200. Entonces, ¿qué vergas? Y ahora, si ves esto, está retesteando también esta caída. Estas dos líneas, esto es lo que yo tenía como mi tesis, ¿no? Que sigue, para mí sigue jugando. Y son movimientos tan chicos acá, de donde entré, que para mí, si ponte tú, si tuve $1,000, estoy perdiendo 100, ¿no? 10% de mi trade, que no está nada mal, para que tengan una idea. Pero, de nuevo, no voy a usar esta vela, voy a usar el 900 que está encima del 21 y está encima de este máximo, ya tienes un rechazo del 21. La otra cosa que es bajista, que le da puntos a lo bajista, es que el promedio del 21 lo habías recuperado desde el cruce plateado a la alza, desde aquí abajo, ¿no? En los 68. Y una vez que estuviste por encima, trepaste todo esto, caíste y ahora lo estás retesteando. Y puede ser el retesteo bajista que te lleve para abajo. Vamos para arriba para no hacerles el cuento largo. Esto es lo que tiene que pasar. Para ser alcista larga temporalidad, largo plazo y decir, güey, algo cambió en Bitcoin y ya no vamos a ver el mismo fondo y va a ser el superciclo, tienes que subirte por encima del promedio del S&P 200. No hay otra respuesta de antes. Te da igual, son $3,000 aquí, ¿no? Da completamente igual. Pero si subes por encima del 200 y empiezas a cerrar diarias, por encima, sobre todo una semanal, por encima de esto, o sea, varias diarias, ahí es donde confirmarías que se cambió la tendencia, va para arriba y algo es diferente de lo que normalmente pasa cada 4 años. ¿Ok? Hasta entonces, lo único que podemos ver es movimientos a corto plazo. Hasta ahorita todavía este corto está jugando, ¿no? Continúa jugando, continúa jugando. Una vez más, no voy a usar esta invalidación porque va a subir más de acá y eso quiere decir que me va a llevar a mínimo 79,120. Entonces, para mí esa no es una buena invalidación para mí, por lo que estoy jugando yo. Tengo ahí mi invalidación. La otra cosa, el promedio del 34. El 34 es la línea blanca. Desde que lo recuperaste acá, que te rechazó en abril del 2026, básicamente al principio de hace 2 meses, no lo habías perdido, lo perdiste acá y no has podido cerrar por encima de. Estás cerrando todas por debajo del 34. La única parte que es positiva a esto es el promedio del 100, lo habías perdido, lo has ganado. Lo sigues perdiendo y lo sigues ganando. El promedio del 100. Y el promedio del 9 había cerrado por debajo del promedio del 9 todo este tiempo. Pero, si volteo a ver Solana, que es mi machín para esto, Solana tiene un cruce plateado a la baja en la diaria, en la de 12 horas, que se ve todavía mucho peor, etcétera. Y el promedio del 9 es lo que me está rechazando en todos lados. Lo único que he recuperado es el 5. Entonces, voy a continuar con mi corto, pero en este momento puedes esperar lo que sea de juego, ¿eh? Lo que sea. Aquí no hay quien te diga que sabe qué vergas va a pasar. Felicidades, que invítame a ver qué vergas. Porque y esto no es natural. Esto no es un comportamiento de precio natural, obviamente. Y esto es antes de un movimiento grande para abajo o una reversión de tendencia. Y una vez más, viene acompañado de noticias. 2022, fondo del 2022 fue marcado guerra nuclear, para continuación, antes de que de verdad subiera más, fue marzo del 2023, cuando te dijeron que los bancos iban a explotar. Y para todavía terminarla, antes de que de verdad todo subiera, te dijeron que Israel iba a entrar en una guerra nuclear con Palestina, que bueno, deshicieron a todo Palestina y lo dejaron plano. Y bueno, le dimos miles de millones de dólares a Zelensky, ¿no? Y el gobierno de Estados Unidos fue financiado por todos nosotros a través de T-bills, deuda de corto plazo, que es lo que estamos haciendo en el 2027. No te han dado más que una mala noticia. Entonces, no sé, no, la única mala noticia, por cierto, fue acá, que fue que Trump iba a atacar nuclearmente a Irán, y eso lo puede volver a decir o puede enseñarte algo, etcétera. Una vez más, yo no estoy esperando, solamente para clarificar a largo plazo, que tengamos una caída y tengamos un mercado súper bajista. Yo creo que vamos a encontrar el fondo un poco más alto de lo normal porque estamos contra el reloj en cuanto a lo que se refiere QE. Ya vimos el fondo, güey, también puede ser posible. No voy a decir que todo lo que digo es religión, puede ser posible, pero estamos literalmente en medio de nada y la bolsa no ayuda para nada porque la bolsa también está en la mierda menos 7 acciones. Entonces, no, el escenario que están viendo esta vez, por primera vez, ahora sí, tiene la probabilidad de ser diferente, pero lo que no es, lo que para mí nunca es diferente es cómo usan las noticias en contra nuestra. Y el hecho de que te estén dando esperanzas para que entres a la bolsa, te pongan lo de SpaceX, te pongan lo del Mundial y todo esto, sencillamente no tiene sentido. ¿Qué te vuelve alcista? Yo diría, cierra por encima de 78 y empieza ¿cómo se dice? A tener cierres de 4 horas por ahí. Puedes volverte alcista, tu invalidación tristemente estará hasta aquí abajo, aunque puedes usar esta vela para ver la tendencia, puedes meterte una de 4 horas rápida, pero la de 4 horas puedes ver que estás abajo del S&P 200, estás rechazando el promedio del 100, esta línea pedorra que tenía yo acá sigue rechazando, ¿no? Que es parte de la tesis. Simplemente aquí empieza a cerrar por encima de 78, que es esta zona, literalmente esta zona, y vas a poder ver el por qué. Cierra por encima de estos 78 y te vuelves más alcista. Y tu confirmación van a ser 78,530 para continuar al alza. ¿Te puede rechazar 78,530? Claro que sí. Pero tendrías mucha más oportunidad de ir para arriba que de para abajo, ya estando ahí. Y por ahora continúa siendo sigue siendo bajista hasta que no te lleves esta línea en 78. Es, en nuestra opinión, todo lo que tienes que saber en este momento. Y una vez más, corto, mediano plazo, ser alcista arriba del S&P 200 diario. Es básicamente todo. All right, Alex, you want to do ETH?
Is perfect. Yeah, ETH BTC firstly looks terrible. Let me just take this off. We're already looking at Ethereum, and that's why we have an Academy short that's right in this region on Ethereum. We're really looking at just kind of a move very easily back to February's wick low. That's at 0.02827. This is like an opportunity if we get it. I'm just going to preface that. The last 4 weeks, you've just been rejecting off of, well, 3 weeks accurately, you've been rejecting off of the weekly EMA 5. Let's just kind of measure that. And mind you that really that's just been on the back of contracting volatility. Now you are starting to see it move up. So let me just measure that really fast. Because like, again, like you'll notice volatility is contracting here. So that was 3%. And then here, again, these are EMA 5 rejections. So again, now it's still contracting. And then here, so that was 4%. Another 5%. Now it's starting to expand, but you're not confirmed yet. And then into last week is when you got another setup. But did we test the weekly EMA 5? No. So last week we were even weaker than all of the previous weeks, and we are getting weekly volatility expanding. So that's why I do think if we get the 5 and the 9 retested, this is an opportunity zone. I've just shown you've gotten over 2% moves for the last 3 weeks simply off the 5. And this mean reversion move here, ignore the move down, something like just like this could actually play right into our Ethereum short idea. Now, for me, we'll delete this really fast. The idea is a visual. This should be a very aggressive move, which then takes out April 2025 low. And then this actually gets the 1623 retest, where then maybe we'll get another move at 366. Remember, 366 has been the big spot we've been watching. Really, I mean, on 2025, 2026, we've been watching 366 on ETH BTC. And we all understand under 366 is going to result into a very bearish environment for altcoins and Ethereum specifically. Look at where we're currently at. Look at the kind of expansion we had at this point, kind of where price is at. Back in 2025, you didn't even have a volatility setup here. You're literally in the same posturing here versus here. Mind you, this is actually what led Ethereum down 35%. But again, the difference is you actually have a weekly volatility setup. This has two sessions of 0% volatility. You're back in an October 2023 environment right here. Okay, and then we know this was like your choppy environment, tried to fire off. The real expansion off, though, firing off was just that entire move down we had here. So let me measure that a little better. So when we actually had the volatility fire off, and it actually confirmed expansion was, I guess here, you could technically say it was here. Excuse me. That gave you 11.7% down. But then you'll notice volatility got right back into a setup. You started to fire off, and then it fired off accurately, like when we were in the 5.9 region, right over here. And then that actually gave you about a 22.6% move. So let's just call it like an 18% move from volatility expanding would at minimum take you to 2.2 here, at least retesting 2.3 support. Why is this important? Because Ethereum is looking very weak, but most importantly, ETH versus Bitcoin is looking weak. And if you get any kind of move up to the weekly 5, this is a short opportunity. This is a lower high. You've been just making lower highs, which result in lower lows. So again, now we understand the explanation on that. Let me delete this. Let's actually kind of see the lower time frames on Ethereum and what it's saying. But since we're on the week, let's throw the HBDR on as well. And let's kind of see. Because we are in breakdown, and literally HBDR is telling you that if you get a move to the weekly 5, that is an opportunity. And you actually haven't been in a breakdown on Ethereum for a while. You didn't fully break down here, but I guess since January. That's an easy gauge. Since January, you haven't been in a breakdown. So even ETH versus Bitcoin's in similar posturing like we were in January. That's interesting to see. But then, okay, let's see. I guess also in November. So that's interesting. November and January. Go to ETH really fast. November, January. Well, here's January. Okay. Here's November. And here's November. October, November. So that's actually when we were just dumping. So let me delete this, right? So it's like we're just in the equivalent of this market here. Both resulted in moves down. So we'll go back to ETH versus Bitcoin. So yeah, the weekly is looking deathly, actually. And it's not just the tether or even the dollar pairing. ETH versus Bitcoin looks bad, actually. You have volatility firing off, 2 sessions of 0%, HBDR breakdown under the weekly 5. Last week couldn't even reach the weekly 5, meaning if this has already lower high here, then you could just make another lower low this week, take the low out. And for me, that would just play into going down to 2.6 as like a kind of just an easy level to view. But really, the big move is going to be that 2.3. I am on the belief that really this is ultimately going to lead to a move back down to the 97% zone, right into 1.6. Now, let's go to the monthly and see a different perspective on ETH versus Bitcoin. So, okay, monthly is actually freshly breaking down. That's very important because it's not like we've been in a breakdown all these months, right? Since September of 2025, you've literally not been in a breakdown. So that ultimately means that Ethereum is extremely weak right now, weaker than we've really seen in a long, long, long time. Not for 9 months, it's essentially been the weakest it's been. So that's interesting because I thought we were in a raging bull market, even super cycle, and I thought Ethereum was going to go up. So that's kind of strange because actually Ethereum, just per the chart, is the weakest it's ever been in 9 months. So that's very interesting when we all know Bitcoin also is putting in an interesting market. Like, is it bullish? Is it bearish? But with macro trend down, it still means we are most likely going to break down. We, as a bull, simply, you just want to see, firstly, monthly 9 reclaimed. That'll be your first big reasoning on maybe we'll get a move back up to 3.6. Until then, you are literally in the verge of a breakdown, confirming in 6 days. And once you do confirm, what most likely results is a move back, retesting the breakdown, leading to a bloody June. So that's interesting because it's kind of lining up. Now, the hard part is this is consolidating or going down slowly. And I don't like that because that can lead to like what I mentioned on like tether dominance, like stair step, elevator up, stair step down, elevator up. But that's why you actually have you can make an argument on why you kind of on ETH versus Bitcoin need to just see a major red dildo now. You just essentially need to see this breakdown. You don't have like a channel forming here. I'm not really seeing anything like that, but I am just seeing really you are just going to want to see the next leg down from this point because you don't want this to just be slowly moving down. That can give you a spring up. So then that could mean that really into May this has started and into June is when you're getting a follow through. That should surprise no one because June is kind of the big month for me, late May, early June. So yeah, the monthly looks bad and it's actually really funny because funny for bears because you made a nice mean reversion on the month, like February, March, and in April, right? You're up 13%, but then you just formed a top candle and you immediately got follow through. So we really should not act like ETH versus Bitcoin is anything more than just garbage. It's looking terrible. The quarterly is literally in a breakdown. And that's interesting because your last breakdown was in July 2024. That was before ETH versus Bitcoin went to the 1.7 zone. This is terrible because you broke down like a lot further from where we're at. So that's actually telling me ETH versus Bitcoin could come down a lot more than what I'm expecting. Like I won't measure it from the breakdown. We'll get from continuation. And we'll measure it 56%. I'll be nice to bulls. Bears. Bulls. 56% from here would result into a move, definitely making lows and actually going towards 1.2. So actually, you're just now testing 2015, 2016 market. That's terrible if you've been an investor from that point here. But it's almost as if Ethereum's gearing up for a $400 or $500 move, which is interesting to me because that's always been my big Glock 3000 buy zone for ETH. And now what we're potentially entering is in, and this isn't confirmed, I will say, but the quarterly in 1 month, which already is looking bad on the monthly in 6 days, gets this breakdown. You are literally in an environment of back in 2024. And that was the result of the full length of the move. I won't be nice to bulls anymore. That was a 68%. So again, just the equivalent of us going all the way back down to 2015 lows. I guess accurately 2016 lows, we'll say. So now that we understand ETH versus Bitcoin on the higher time frame, we're looking bad. What was your kind of like, if you were a bull here, what would be the idea on a quarterly? Because all I see on this quarterly is consistent downtrend. And literally since 2021, if anyone's been bullish on ETH versus Bitcoin, and not like how we are, lower time frame, 366 reclaiming, we could probably move up a little bit, range trade, but like literally like ETH versus Bitcoin is going to make a new high calling out. It just doesn't make sense because this has literally been in just an easy downtrend. So yeah, and even what we saw in 2025 was just the next major lower high on the quarterly, brought to you by simply a EMA 34 retest, which was the bearish setup technically. So from that bearish setup, quarterly setup, you've gone down 37% so far. So I hope that's an understanding. Like we understand Ether's Bitcoin looks bad. Look at the wicks, rejecting down, and every single time in this spot, you have rejected and at least resulted in a move back down to 2.3. So it's like the equivalent of us moving down about 15% more. Here, rejected, you reached the zone. Rejected, reached the zone, even overshot it. Rejected, reached the zone. Rejected, reached the zone in 3 months. So you've rejected. Are you going to reach the zone, or is this time different? I don't know. We'll know soon though on the monthly. The monthly is really going to be a good thing going into June. June's going to be really a good month, it seems. Okay, so that's interesting. Well, I'll keep going. I can go lower time frame now because I know I've talked a lot about the higher time frame, but I just think that's the most important for a chart like Ether's. Bitcoin, 5 days in breakdown, solidly have just been rejecting the 5-day EMA 5. So what are you gathering off the Ether's Bitcoin chart? It seems to me like it's just been rejecting its EMA 5 on all time frames, from like a quarterly to a monthly to a weekly. Now, what do we know by that? That does not signal strength by any means. Seems like you've lost February's low, and this just needs to be flipped into resistance. Plays into the, if we get a move to the weekly 5, that's probably an opportunity zone. And we cannot act like ETH versus Bitcoin hasn't made this kind of characteristic before. It has essentially rejected the 5-day EMA 5 the entire time until we hit that 1.8 zone. So we literally are in the equivalent of this market. It's like here, we need to go up now. We can't just keep going down. And then Ether's Bitcoin ended up going down over 28 days again. Here, I'll just measure it. No need for my guesses. So it went down 55 more days after it went down essentially 45 days and just rejecting the 5. So, and I only say that because, believe it or not, people run with that idea like we have to get a bounce. We have to do that. Literally, what could occur here is this 5-day ends up forming a doji green, resets it, and then you move down. So just bad stuff. Let's go to the daily now. I'm interested to see if we're rejecting the daily 5. Good Lord. Have we ever seen a chart where like the 5's rejecting on every time frame? Other than just like one of those really shitty charts? Wow. So let's check the daily out. Lower low, lower high. We're brewing a lower low break on the daily. And we're now back at the daily 5. And this is funny because it's actually in a daily bearish setup here. Deviation, retest. Plays into the idea maybe this rally is kind of getting over on crypto. Let's check Bitcoin really fast. Okay, so we're still in that zone. Oh gosh. And you're even getting daily volatility. It's not like you're in like the extremes of like 10 days here. You are literally just about to get another daily volatility setup. It seems to me like it's priming up for that daily move, at least down to here. It's like 15%. And I'll measure the last daily volatility setup on ETH versus Bitcoin. Oh gosh, so not clear. Okay, here, we'll do it here. Down. So okay. So actually, it seems to me like that daily volatility setup could just be gearing up for that move to 2.6. Regardless, not bullish. And so I know it seems like this is just kind of repeating what I've mentioned on all the higher time frames, but that's not a good sign. We've just looked at a quarterly, a monthly, a weekly, a 5-day, and a daily, and they're all rejecting your EMA 5. This is like the last chart you want to be bullish on. There's either two things here. This is either like bottomed out. It looks so literally so bad that this is just about to massively moon. I don't at all think that's the case at all, even statistically not likely. Or this is literally about to capitulate. And so now that we know that that's just on ETH versus Bitcoin, that's just terrible. Bitcoin moves down, ETH will get hurt. Bitcoin moves up, ETH will get hurt. So then why would you at all invest in this? So this really does just lead me to believe that we are about to retest 2016 lows. We'll go to ETH versus the dollar now, or Tether, whichever one you like. I view the dollar. just what I have here on my chart. And let's actually take a look now at this. Because what do we have? Well, Ether's Bitcoin has just looked terrible, been rejecting its EMA 5. It's truly been looking bad. Now, what has ETH been doing? So let's just see now. We'll go to the weekly. We started off with that. So you just freshly, massively deviated the 9 and the 5. On this move up, you've been actually riding up the weekly 5. You went up to the weekly SMA 200, a very predictable bearish retest here, just the weekly SMA 200. And what are you instantly going to see on this weekly chart? Wow, this looks terrible that it's under its weekly SMA 200. That's just like instantly a red flag on any chart. This move up that we've had that everyone got massively bullish on ETH went from 1,700 all the way up to 2,400, maybe 2,470. That was about 41%. All this was literally we capitulated, we made a lower low, and now what we're doing is we got our bearish retest, and our lower high is most likely on the macro. Now, there's been a lot, and I mean a lot of chop with this weekly estimate. Weekly estimate 200, actually. Losing it, reclaiming it, not getting a retest until this kind of bullshit market, massively dumping from it, chopping. Let's see what else. I'm chopping here. And then when we have lost it, let's check this out. We've rejected it upon here. This is in 2019. That's interesting. This gave you about a 47% move down from the retest. Okay, that's interesting because it seems like we're very near that 2019 characteristic. Actually, weekly volatility setup, firing off after the weekly SMA 200, retest, lower high as well. Lost it and then got the retest. What move did it move up once we went and got the retest? That was 35%. Very similar to our 41% move up. So interesting. It seems like ETH's like in a 2019 market. But we'll keep looking here. We lost the SMA 200 on that chop. But let's measure down. That was 63%. And I'm only doing, it loses it, it retests, and it moves down. How much? Because we've gotten chop here somewhat. This 16.9 on a closing opening basis, not a wick basis. So 16.9%. Here was your retest, 2022. 15.1%. So putting in easily over 10% moves every time. Retest, the move down. I'll do this from the wick basis, down. Of 7%. So that's been the lowest one we've had. That was the 2023 move. The nice Bolzuka move, the Hamas setup, if you will. I haven't forgotten about that. And then that was it. We haven't gotten a retest here. It didn't retest here. It lost it. We just retested. Just for my own curiosity, that was a 46% move down upon retest in 2019. Let me just verify that. I believe though, 46% move down here. Oh, 48%. So let's measure that now from where we're at, assuming we just retest and move down. Again, we can't act like Ethereum's majorly bullish. It's not. So we've gone down so far 18%. That's crazy, actually, on just this setup. What's 48%? Okay, so that's like the equivalent of a 1.2, 1.3 Ethereum, which is my next TP zone, actually. So now that we understand that weekly SMA 200 is very weak, it seems like we're now in a breakdown, and you are forming potentially a weekly downtrend. You just need to take out March low. Take out March low. It's going to be a good indication this is fully in a weekly downtrend. Weekly volatility is contracted and giving you a setup, and you are going to notice that it is still contracting. So we are actually getting a pretty big volatility setup here soon. Now, this is still more likely to break down. That's just based on this loss of the 9 and even the 5. And what you could gather is, well, like I mentioned on Ether's Bitcoin, the weekly 5 and 9 seem like an opportunity zone. So if you get that at all here, this could be an opportunity zone. Now, I am scaling shorts with ETA on ETH, and we do have a short. I'm running with last week's high is in. But now that I've just kind of seen everything, I actually might raise the stop loss a little past the weekly 5. Maybe at like 2,170. Do I think we're going to get that major opportunity short zone? No, I don't think so. But if it wanted to, it could do something like that and then move down. And that way, then we would take a stop loss. For me, though, this isn't a breakdown. You broke down, you've retested, you went down, trapped aggressive shorts, and now you've just kind of in the middle. This still should result into a major move down. And it's like what I mentioned on ETH versus Bitcoin's monthly. You're going to want to see a move here sooner rather than later. Like, you don't want price just to do this. Because then that wouldn't make sense. More likely this was a failure and you're just going to reclaim and move up. So now that you're in the breakdown, now that weekly volatility is set up and you're even losing the weekly 5, and look at the 5 and 9 have crossed. That's just instantly showing you weakness, along with a weekly silver cross to the downside. You really have to act very cautious and bearish on Ethereum moving forward, and even alt. This looks very bad though. My next target is 1,400, and that is my TP zone. We'll go to the biweekly now. Biweekly is giving you confluence of that retest of the weekly 5, which is just the biweekly 5 as well. You have a measured move over here to around 1,878, the equivalent of basically a 12% move down minimum. And then you lose that. That's your confirmation of 1,400. And I really do believe, and I've still stood on this, that we're going to get some kind of Ethereum at $400. And I do think that's going to be just a big opportunity zone. We talked about 2016 lows getting tested. Obviously, that's not going to be tested on ETH versus the dollar. That would mean like we're going to like $30. But I could see a case on why we're going to actually come back to 200, maybe even $300 Ethereum. Somewhere like here, retesting these zones. Regardless, we broke out. This was a big spot of support. This gave us a big gap up. This was a big spot of support. This gave us a big gap up. So we really can't act like once we lose 1,400, this is going to not result into a move back to 600 minimum. I promise you that once we get back to $600 Ethereum, no one is going to want to buy Ethereum. And honestly, I'm going to be buying more Ethereum than Bitcoin because I believe Ethereum is going to move up more in the future, in like years to come when I'm old. So that's really what I'm looking at on ETH. I'll go to more lower time frames, like a daily, of course, but it's very hard to get bullish on a chart like ETH. And it's crazy not many people are talking about it. And what happens when like the monthly gets in the breakdown, June opens, and we just dump? And like look at the 9, the 21 crossing here on the monthly, gearing up for a monthly silver cross down. Something you've never had on this chart's history, only a silver cross to the upside. Actually,
if you do the silver cross on the 2 week, there's a silver cross on the 2 week. But the thing is, look at the last silver cross on the last cycle and see where it put the bottom.
And that was it. Right near it, actually, here in 2018 too. I'll go to the last cycle, like you said. Let's go there. Boom. Right here. Okay, yeah, let's observe that. That's an interesting bi-weekly that you're mentioning, because here you do the silver cross. You basically come near the lows, but at that point, the low was already in 2022 on ETH. That was at 800. And I remember that because I wanted that to get ran. And I remember ETH wasn't breaking down as much as Bitcoin. When Bitcoin is running its low that it formed in June, and ETH actually never took that. Then we have the silver cross up, and that literally was respected until a new high, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, it was. You didn't uncross, and it was respected until you broke the high here. At least in this cycle, this consolidation. Then you have another. No, that was it. Okay, so then here, let me delete that. So silver cross bottom was in 2022. Silver cross, we wrote it up. That was a big move to the upside. like 120%. Silver cross, you went down upon silver cross. Well, you still went down though about 35%, but the bottom wasn't on ETH, which is interesting. So it's like the equivalent of at least going back down 35%. Let's just see that. It's still right in the 1400. Okay, now we'll go to the last cycle, or last cycle. So 2020 silver cross was very well respected to a new high, actually to a new high. Last cycle gave us 120, 120% move up. Let's see here. Good Lord, gave you a 2000% move up. And then here you had the silver cross down, and the bottom was already in before. That's interesting because 2 times the silver cross has occurred, the bottom has been in on ETH. Does that mean it's going to be the same case? No. But then let's measure the move down if we had one. So it crossed here, and then on that, and again, so what I've observed is the biweekly 9 still rejected upon the cross. It didn't run the low, but it still rejected the 9. And basically, let's measure that down. So that still gave you upon cross 35%. So even if you want to play that maybe the bottom is in on ETH, like 1406, you still could get a 35% move upon the 9 or near it. We'll just say the 5. And like 35% would not take the low out, but come near it at 1,425. So it still plays into the idea that 1400 is a big spot. If you take this low out, we're now kind of in a silver cross dynamic on the biweekly we've never had before, because we've really only gone down about 35%, not taking out the previous low and then moving up. And then once the biweekly silver cross is up, that's kind of like when you want to be really aggressive on ETH. That's interesting to see. Mentally note it. But here it still results every time, even if the bottom was in to a 35% move down. It's not always going to be the same, but even 30% would still mean like a $1,500 ETH. So still not a good thing if you're buying ETH at 2,125. And if you are running on some kind of low being in for ETH, well, that still means minimum you'll move down 12%. And maybe you'll actually reach this low at 1,420 and just simply not take March low out. But still not the best sign of confidence, because still could mean that, yes, the bottom's in on ETH, but we're going to go down 35% still. And then I was looking at the monthlies. I don't think actually we've ever had a monthly silver cross. I have so many moving averages, so I just need to make it easier for me and everyone and just do that. On the 21, of course, I flipped it. So no, it did not. It just opened above, essentially. Like the 55 populated here, and so it was just in silver cross, but it didn't technically cross. Here you have just the 9 and the 21 crossing, and I think that's interesting on the monthly too, because you were near a bottom at that point too. Like here it crossed, and then you just kind of grinded a bottom. But yeah, when you start going to like 2020, 2018, you don't have a lot of data. And the monthly 921 cross. Yeah, that's interesting. Let me just see that. So 9 and 21 cross, I mean, this results into a move back down to the lows. The low was in. This results into a new low. 921 crossed here, but that was just like a failure, if you will. But still, it did cross, and then that did test near the lows, I guess, or near-ish. Not really, no. Actually, it did not, because it crossed here and then went only to 2,100. The low was right in the 1,400. So that was a failure in 2025. But granted, you were still in a bull market. And then here, so it seems like when the 9 and the 21 cross in a bull market, it doesn't really work. Down, cross down, right? But then when you are like in a bear market, it does actually go pretty well. It still results into a move back down near the lows. So that would still mean a move back at least to 1,700 if you're using this low, or near the 1,400. But still, regardless, very bad stuff on ETH. Very, very bad stuff, actually. I'll quickly get off this now. Let's see if there's anything else I'm seeing at all on like a lower time frame. Wow, and you're even just getting a lower low, lower high, potentially just another lower high. Right under the 21, 12 hours giving you a volatility setup. Last time you rejected was off that 12-hour 21, and that was off of a 12-hour volatility setup. So you're literally in the same posturing as here. Mid-May is now here, late May. Interesting to see that. You are still in silver cross in the 12-hour. It's just similar to Bitcoin, except ETH had its 12-hour silver cross many moons ago, where Bitcoin just now got its 12-hour silver cross Friday. So that's interesting. And yeah, to me, it really just seemed like there's nothing but air here. And like, really, once this 12-hour starts, this could just be the domino effect. Let's see if the daily has a volatility setup, 2-day and so forth. Daily is contracting. So then maybe 2 days firing off. That's interesting. 2 daily is contracting, 2 days firing off. Volatility is still very hot for this chart, honestly. So in summary, I mean, Ethereum's looking really, honestly, it's looking terrible. It's looking absolutely terrible. One of the worst times Ethereum's ever looked, honestly. And now what you're doing is, well, you're just, in my opinion, brewing another move. And even now, looking at the quarterly, this still is saying more likely a move back down to 1,700. So there's testing the lows again. But really, Ethereum is in a market on ETH versus Bitcoin that we haven't seen since 2016. This is in a monthly breakdown, a quarterly breakdown. Weekly volatility is on the verge of firing off. While trend is still down, Bitcoin's looking weak. You go to ETH versus the dollar and it's not looking any better. And it just looks to me like you've just essentially grinded out the next major lower high. And all that's left is the lower low break, meaning taking out February's low and moving down to 1,400. Now, this will take time. I mean, this could start occurring in June. I'm still on the timeline. It's going to be late May, early June. So now we're in late May. Let's see if we get the move early June. Because if we end up going in breakdown here and we open up, we could just move down in June and at minimum go to 1,400. Now, really, this chart is looking very bad, though. If you're investing in Ethereum, all you're literally running on is that this low is in, and this is like, I don't know what the reasoning would be even for this, honestly. It'd just be like, let's go to your yearly. So it'd just be like that. If you're bullish on ETH, you're literally just running with the yearly 12 holding. I mean, no, yearly 9 holding. Sorry. So, and last year's low, not taken out. And this is just another higher high, higher low. I mean, higher high, higher low. But I hope all the things we just talked about on this, you're not going to be running with that idea because this is looking terrible. What's my invalidation? I'll just say it real fast to get bullish on ETH. Get back above 2,800 and you can be bullish on ETH. So maybe for your charts, like 3,000, it's in a breakout. But like once you're back with the monthly moving averages, you're pretty much good to go up.
So basically around here. Yeah. Man. I don't know. I sent out a signal in my investment portfolio at 1750. That's holding pretty fucking nicely. I'm actually jealous because I didn't get it. I was like, you know what? It's going to come down more. I understand what you're saying. The charts are terrible on it. Absolutely terrible. Like there's nowhere to look at it and say this is awesome. But
maybe it's bottom just based on how bad it looks. Sometimes it can be that dumb.
That's normally how it works. That's why I'm kind of jealous of these guys. I'm not saying it can't come down again to like around it or, you know, between these, but that would be an excellent opportunity. I just think if it's held this line since 2020, that SFP, this is something I learned on Bitcoin in 2022. I had a line like this And when he was down here, I was expecting for Bitcoin to break down, and he didn't. And that was the bottom on Bitcoin. That's why I like ETH. And what the other thing I like about ETH is everyone looks at it like it's a piece of shit, but literally all of USDC and all of USDT, which is the major stable coins that everyone measures, most of their business is on Ethereum, on an L2. So whenever you go into Coinbase, crypto.com, any exchange you want, what is the first option they give you for USDT? Tether, ERC20. No?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, is that never going to count?
Yeah, and I think like over 90% of the volume is on ERC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely. And they force it. They're forcing it upon people.
Some exchanges won't even have anything but ERC20.
That's what I'm saying. When I want to cash out my, like, say I get USDT on Solana, Coinbase is like, nah, homie, you got to go through ETH. I don't give a fuck.
Fuck you and your Solanas.
Yeah. And I know it sounds conspiracy and whatnot, but ETH belongs to JP Morgan Chase.
They were buying
muted, Alex.
a fuck ton of it, and they bought silver right before they did its busting action.
Yeah.
I'd love to buy ETH in this bear market. And if we get it 14 or we bought them and we can move up, we'll know. But if we get a $400 ETH, no one's going to buy ETH. It'll be dead.
No, there's no way you'll get. That's impossible based on what's coming. According to me, right? Obviously. So what the fuck do I know? But
if you're above 1400 and that low held and took us to a new high, it's not gonna happen. But still, if we do end up getting that, oh man, I cannot wait for sentiment, because no one is gonna want ETH, and that's just like probably the best place to buy ETH.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's why it's like
it already is terrible though.
It's like a comment in the sky.
Let me see this. Is that real? No. That could be. Damn. Yeah, that's a hard one. All righty, boys. Well, that's it, because no market's open today. So anything you'd like to add before Bitcoin keeps fucking with my feelings?
For me, I want to say 8-hour short term, we do have some bullish divergence, so still looking towards somewhere around that 80,000, and as long as we're holding over about on the low time frames 76, I'm looking for 80, and then we have to see what happens at 80,000 based off of that daily 200 SMA.
So 76 would be the line in the sand for you to the downside.
Yeah, for short-term moves.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, for me, just watch the trading alerts in the Discord. I'll see you boys on Wednesday.
All righty. Well, thank you, boys. Much appreciated. Enjoy your day.
Muchas gracias, cabrones. Buenas tardes and hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Thank you. ETH. Voy a ver rápidamente ETH. Les digo esto. Yo entiendo que Ethereum se ve de la verga. Lo entiendo. Acabo de mover mi línea meme, ¿no? Y estoy conectando en marzo del 2020 con esto. Y creo que conecta más bonito así. Déjame la hago más gorda. También la línea. Pueden ver el por qué, ¿no? Si la pones aquí, todavía más bonita, porque te enseña este SFP y ahora que estás acá. A la gente que compró mi señal acá en los 1750, agarraron literalmente el fondo. Me arrepiento muy cabrón de creer que iba a bajar más yo personalmente. Acá. No sé si lo vaya a hacer o no. O sea, obviamente sigo esperando esto, pero les digo, esperando a ver el bajón, sabiendo que QE va a pasar en Ethereum, no importa, se pueden pelear en XRP, lo que quieran. Esto se ve bien. Sobre todo, vean esto. En la tabla de 2 semanas hay cosas que nos enseñan fondos. Y, por ejemplo, un cruce plateado acá, a la baja, ya teníamos el fondo acá. ¿No? Ahora déjame te enseño otro. El primer ciclo de esta chingadera. Cruce plateado a la baja, literalmente ya habías visto el fondo. Ahora, pueden ver que regresa muy cerca de, ¿no? El fondo acá fue en 78 y está en 90 y cacho, en la de 2 semanas. Eso, pues adivinen qué, ¿no? Básicamente, regresando para acá, cruce plateado acá. Parece que ya vimos el fondo acá, en Ethereum. Y yo sé, suena completamente loco por el sentimiento del mercado, pero ese es justamente el punto, ¿no? Literalmente ese es justo el punto de cómo tradeamos aquí. Ahora, análisis técnico como lo que dice Alex, esto se ve de la verga y tiene cara que viene a los 1400. Creo que es posible. No sé, el S&P 200 en la de 2 semanas fue lo que nos detuvo estas 2 veces. Aquí lo tocó solo una y aquí dos. Puede que venga y se recargue una vez más por ahí de los 1800, bla, bla. Sí, estás en una tendencia bajista en la de 2 semanas, ¿no? Alto, bajo. Y si esta vela rompe por encima de los 2370, y entienden el por qué no. Alto, bajo. Si esta vela primero rompe la vela de aquí arriba, probablemente vas a ir a buscar un nuevo alto. Pero si te llevas esta de abajo, en los 2000, probablemente sí tengas una oportunidad en esta zona de aquí abajo. Y una vez más, esto va un poco relacionado con lo de Bitcoin, ¿no? Porque si esto fue en la caída de Bitcoin potente y solamente cayó a 1750, comparado con Bitcoin que cayó a 60,000, cayendo esto a 68, ponte tu Bitcoin a 58,000, como les estoy contando, y esto hace algo relativamente similar, simplemente caería a 1700. Entonces, quien haya entrado acá tiene una super entrada en Ethereum. Van a querer vender, ahí es personalmente, ¿no? Cada quien qué quiera hacer, pero se ve bastante bien. La cosa, la cosa de Ethereum en este ciclo, comparado con lo demás, tienen que entender, sobre todo viendo cómo funciona. Solana tiene un CEO, tiene a Toli, a Anatoly, bueno, Anatoly, ¿no? Toli es el mero mero. Y Solana funciona de cierta forma, es en mi opinión, la mejor L1, la más rápida para hacer diferentes cosas. Y les dije siempre, este pedo va a tener sus propios propósitos, ¿ok? Este pedo va a tener sus propios propósitos. No todas, y esto lo dije en el 2022, no todas estas cadenas van a sobrevivir. Solana va a funcionar como una estrategia de pagos para diferentes redes, pero pongan atención a qué es la primera red que todos usan para USDT y USDC. Es Ethereum. Cuando yo quiero hacer un settlement de cuando me pagan en Tether, me pueden pagar en Solana, en Tether, me pueden pagar en Tron, me pueden pagar en el Tether que quieras. Pero el único Tether que recibe Coinbase en Estados Unidos es ERC20, que es el protocolo de Ethereum. Y lo mismo con USDC. Puedo tener USDC en Solana, pero cuando quiero yo sacarlo para el último puente final, tiene que a huevo pasar por Ethereum. No lo puedo, no me deja mandarlo en USDC a mi cartera de Coinbase por Solana. Lo tengo que hacer en Ethereum. Y eso para mí es lo que más importa. La ley dice, y lo que están usando estos güeyes hoy es eso. El mal sentimiento de mercado es muy positivo en mi punto de vista. El hecho de que todo el mundo esté mandando a la verga a Vitalik. Vitalik no tiene que decir nada. Nada. Ven, por ejemplo, veo al equipo te digo, de Solana simplemente se están enfocando en pagos y en tokenización de ciertos mercados de acciones y así. Pero el más grande de todos estos mercados es Ethereum. ¿Por qué? Porque está en un recuerden, estas cosas están en un L2 en Ethereum, que sigue siendo volumen sobre Ethereum, da igual cómo lo quieran ver o vender. Cuando veo, por ejemplo, a los de XRP, la misma gente que trabaja en XRP está muy preocupada por el precio. Ellos mismos están hablando del precio sin parar. No, y que tiene que subir y que tiene que hacer esto. Los CEOs, ninguna otra cadena hace eso. Es la cosa más rara del mundo. Yo no veo a Vitalik hablando no, siempre tiene sus bolsitas muy bonitas, pero no habla de estas cosas. Yo creo que Ethereum es el que menos tiene downside. Te voy a dar un ejemplo. Digamos que llega a $1,000, que está aquí abajo. $1,000. Estás en 2,000. Si crees que ya se te fue Ethereum, no estoy hablando por mí ni te estoy diciendo qué hacer, pero a la gente que crea que ya se le fue Ethereum aquí abajo, puede poner 25% de lo que quisiera poner o la mitad. Y si llega a la otra mitad, ponte tú, a 1,000, ¿no? Que estoy completamente equivocado y Ethereum hizo esto, compras la otra mitad aquí abajo y tu promedio está en 1,500. Sería un promediazo. Pero ahí tiene que pasar algo ridículamente extraño para que llegue a eso. Porque lo piensas una vez más. Bitcoin acá llegó hasta $60,000. Acá. Ethereum solamente bajó a ser un bajo más alto que el de marzo del 2025, mientras que Bitcoin sí cayó relativo del 2025 mucho más. Ethereum no lo hizo. Ethereum hizo un bajo más alto. Solana hizo un bajo más bajo. Y ¿pueden ver esto o no? XRP hizo un bajo más bajo. La única de estas monedas que hizo un bajo más alto que en los aranceles de Ethereum fue Ethereum. Fue la única. ¿Están de acuerdo que algo ha de querer decir? ¿No? Algo ha de querer decir esto. Que sea la única moneda que hizo esto. De las establecidas, no me vayan a venir que, no, güey, es que hype o estas mamadas nuevas, ¿no? Da igual. Simplemente pasan 10 meses y desaparece el hype. Pero Ethereum fue la única que hizo eso. De las potentes. Por ejemplo, ETH Bitcoin hizo fondo en abril del 2025 con los aranceles. Solana Bitcoin está haciendo un fondo local acá. XRP Bitcoin está también más arriba. Solana se ve peor de estas, en esas relaciones. Me gusta esta idea. Ahora tienes varias cosas que te van a dar como tiempo para pensarla, ¿no? Este setup de volatilidad en la diaria, que estás viniendo uno de los puntos más bajos que no has visto desde el 2023 o mínimo octubre del 2025, octubre del 2024. Te daría tiempo. Pero por ahora ve, ETH está abajo acá, en medio de la nada, en la diaria, está retomando el promedio del 9. Si lo llegas a retomar y te llevas este máximo de los 2,145, siguiente objetivo 2,190, pues ahora puedes venir a la zona de la línea roja y rechazar, ¿no? Pero por ahorita se ve más alcista que bajista. ¿Qué pasa si hago esto en esta microtemporalidad? Está aguantando, juntando este mínimo de acá de febrero del 2026 con el mínimo, el primer mínimo de febrero. Alto más alto, bajos más altos. Está como calladito haciendo lo que tiene que hacer. Y una vez más, todo el QE. Ay, por cierto, una de las personalidades del güey que viene a decir mamadas en X todo el tiempo, no sabe lo que significa QE, pero me está dando consejos de inversión y de dónde me estoy equivocando. Así de puta madre es la gente chingada en el 2026. Y pues mi gallo, se los digo, Bitcoin no me importa si se va o no, yo voy a comprar strategy. Es lo que yo voy a agregar a mi portafolio. No Bitcoin, porque strategy va a dar unos pompazos que no tienen sentido. Y otra cosa que me gusta es, están diciendo que strategy va a vender Bitcoin y todo esto, están espantando a la gente de strategy. Simplemente se ven bien estas cosas. Se ven bastante bien. Ya veremos cómo abre todo. Ahora, este es el momento ya final de todo. Vean, ahí va el petróleo. Vamos. Todo esto va juntito. El peso dólar. Ahí va para abajo. Pero están aguantando. Es por eso que digo, ¿me va a dar otra oportunidad de entrar? Yo creo que sí. El petróleo también. Puedo probar en el 20, en el promedio del 100 diario o 21, ¿no? Lo que gusten en semanal. Y aguantar acá el 34 en los 80, puta. Entre 86 y 80. Hay buenas oportunidades. Vamos a ver cómo sea. Y de nuevo, todavía no, las noticias todavía no me dan mi capitulación final y el precio tampoco. Yo creo que este es un juego de paciencia. Yo no creo que se nos vaya ahorita diciéndole a todo el mundo, súbanse a la bolsa, súbanse a todo esto. Pero, una vez más, puede estar mal. Por eso, ustedes tienen buenas entradas en Coinbase, en Circle, en Ethereum. Vamos a ver cómo nos va con Lucid, pero yo personalmente siento que nos va a ir bien como sea. Vamos a seguir esperando a ver qué pedo. Por ahorita están cubiertos con todo lo que traemos. Y a ver esta chingadera si ya se va a animar a sacarme o no. Bitcoin. No, está jugándole al pendejo, tíos. Les digo, esta es una mamada lo que está jugando las tablas estos días con nosotros. Solana también, o sea, está arriba y abajo aquí jugando en un rango muy pendejo con todos los EMAs por encima. Cuando ves todos los EMAs compresos en un solo lugar, esto es bastante bueno para el movimiento a la alza o la baja. Si el movimiento a la alza, te puedes meter en un long tarde. Bitcoin no está igualito. Bitcoin no tiene los EMAs compresos en la diaria, pero Solana sí. Si el movimiento es para arriba, te va a dar tiempo para el long. Si el movimiento es para abajo, te va a dar tiempo para el corto. Y la semanal en Solana, súper débil. Pues que también en Bitcoin es nada más la mamá de que está aquí. Pues vamos a ver cómo se da. Vamos a ver si nos saca ya el buen trade de Bitcoin, que de todas maneras ustedes tienen mejores entradas que yo en la de Bitcoin acá en ETA. Así que bien hecho. La invalidación está muy cerca del precio. En 77.7, entrando ahí con una salida en 77.900. Güey, tu margen de error es mínimo. 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 Sí, vamos a ver cómo se da. Pero tienen muy interesante este tiempo, porque nunca habíamos visto esto, que se prepararan para QE, que nadie lo entendiera, nadie lo pudiera ver y que todo el mundo todavía crea. Y les digo, si esto juega del QE, ahorita a través de las monedas estables, ahora, lo que es difícil para mí conceptualizar es en todo esto, que es una vez más divertidísimo poder hacer esto y ver cómo se da. O sea, pase lo que pase. ¿Qué tan rápido van a sacar sus monedas estos güeyes y qué tan rápido va a haber una adopción de estas monedas de Tesla, USDT, Amazon y eso? ¿Qué tan rápido lo van a usar? ¿Qué tan agresivo van a hacer con ello? Porque eso va a determinar todo esto. Porque si se tarda y todavía, porque ahorita, por ejemplo, por más que exista pues ya la tecnología de USDT y todas estas mamadas, muy poca gente lo usa. Estás hablando de 300,000 millones de dólares totales en valor cuando hay 17 trillones de dólares en cash. Es nada, ¿no? Pero el día que estos güeyes abran las puertas y que digan, vénganse y que todo el mundo lo empiece a cambiar, ahí es cuando vas a ver el efecto QE explotar. Y ahora, eso va a ser pésimo para la gente. Pésimo. Porque yo sé que todos ustedes, la bolsa va a subir, bien para todos nosotros los degenerados, pero los negocios de todos ustedes se van a ir a la verga porque ustedes no van a poder sacar sus monedas estables y no van a poder dar estos beneficios que, o pueden, pero sus beneficios no son nada. Para Amazon son miles de millones de dólares, para Tesla son miles de millones de dólares, para ustedes son peanuts. Y la cosa es, van a tener que tener un consultor que venga y les haga esto. Van a tener que pagar al contador para predecir sus cash flows porque tienen que saber cuándo lo van a cambiar de vuelta a monedas normales, ¿no? A dólares normales, etcétera. El float que tengan. Entonces, va a estar más complejo para los negocios chicos y medianos de nuevo poder sobrevivir en esto 3 años más de ver todo subir y después se va a ir todo a la mega mierda. Mega mierda. Porque hay un punto en todo, ¿no? Si lo fueras a ver ahorita como echarte para atrás relativo, estarías en el 2005. Y yo sé que todos queremos que todo pase rápido. Una vez más, hay oportunidades en todo para la gente que tiene cash. Pero tenemos que ver cómo se implementa esto, porque esto podría, una vez más, esto no sería bueno para la economía, sería QE, sería bueno para la gente que tiene acciones, bueno para la gente que tiene cripto, bueno para la gente que trabaja en negocios gigantescos, pero sería pésimo para la gente que trabaja en DoorDash, en todas estas mamadas. Y va de nuevo, la mentira de la IA, ¿no? Que todo el mundo es, no, es que va a quebrar lo de la IA. Nel, güey, eso es los gobiernos gastando. Yo sé que ustedes les dicen que son empresas y la gente, son gobiernos gastando en ello. Es dinero ilimitado. A cierto punto ustedes lo pagarán. Ya veremos cuándo y cómo. Pero por ahorita es dinero ilimitado de parte de nuestros gobiernos. Entonces, esa burbuja de la IA que tanto te prepara tu Paco favorito para es... Lo único que nos toma a nosotros aquí es ver si esto se voltea para arriba, simplemente posicionar rápido. Y si no, esperar a lo que esperamos, porque todo el mundo esperando, una vez que se voltee el ciclo y no entendiendo que en el 2027 empieza QE, los deja fuera de lugar. Y la pregunta es simplemente cómo, cuándo entrar. Eso se vuelve todo. Y simplemente vamos a estar pendientes. Y de nuevo, lo que a mí me gusta es, Estados Unidos funciona y opera de la misma forma, no lo tienen que cambiar. Díganme cómo van con el virus. Ya les dio a todos el gentavirus y se les hizo chico el pito, ¿no? Que les prometieron que te hace la verga más chica como por 3 pulgadas, un pedo así. No, todavía no, qué raro. Pero bueno, ya viene la ébola. Ébola ya viene. ¿Saben qué es la cosa menos contagiosa? No tienes que hacer un chingo de porquerías para que te dé ébola con otra persona. Pero ya viene, ya ahí viene. Ok, lo que dice Farhan y Alex, si vemos en corta temporalidad diaria o cierres de 12 horas o cosas así, debajo de los $76,000 es donde vemos que Bitcoin va a continuar a la baja ya. Entonces, pendientes a ese punto, $76,000 para todos los que están tradeándolo está ahí. ¿Dónde sería mi TP? Justamente esa zona, porque es una zona importante, es una zona pivote. Entonces, si se vuelve a dar, que ya me los había dado ayer. Pero el margen era muy poco, creo que estaba ganando 10%, que ahora voy a perder 10% si es que me saca. ¿No? ¿Cómo funciona esto? $76,000 es la zona importante. Si rompe 76,000 a la baja, se va a poner bueno y pues vamos a ver todavía nuestras entradas como lo tenemos planeado. Hasta ahorita nada ha cambiado, ¿eh? Nada. No se desesperen. No se desesperen, por favor. Y básicamente eso es todo. Eso, tíos, es todo lo que tenemos el día de hoy por acá. Feliz Memorial Day a los que lo celebren y pues a ver si nos sacan. Sí, QE quiere decir impresión de dinero, pero es impresión de dinero. Esto financia el gobierno de Estados Unidos y hace que efectivamente Estados Unidos pueda comprar más acciones, los fondos grandes puedan comprar más acciones en vez de comprar tesorería a corto plazo. Pero tiene que haber un momento de debilidad en la bolsa por ello, que es por eso le tienen que echar la culpa a otra cosa. Les van a decir, no, hombre, es que la gente está comprando deuda por X, Y o Z, o la bolsa bajó por X, Y o Z, va a haber una guerra nuclear o lo que sea. Ahí es cuando queremos comprar. Ahí es cuando queremos comprar. ¿Por qué? Porque lo que hace QE efectivamente es libera muchísimo del dinero del mercado real, o sea, de los fondos grandes, para comprar solamente acciones en vez de tener que sostener también el show de la deuda, que es como funciona esta rotación de dinero. ¿Quién lo compraría? La compra de deuda la haríamos nosotros, como la hicimos en el 2023, pero indirectamente para que las compañías de Estados Unidos se beneficien en vez de nosotros. Son unos cracks, son unos putos cracks. Así que así es como funciona. Les mando un abrazo a todos. Cuídense mucho. Gracias por acompañarme el día de hoy. Nos vemos mañana, tíos. En el próximo episodio de... No, no sé qué.